Chapter 2570. Difficult to leave. It was a creature that Lu Ming had never seen before. Its body was covered in scales and its hind legs were thick and strong. However, its front legs were very short and small, which were curled up in front of its body. His head was somewhat like a lizard's. His mouth was incomparably huge, and was filled with terrifying fangs. His hind legs were running wildly at an astonishing speed. To Lu Ming's surprise, I was emitting a terrifying dragon's might. Lu Ming did not get entangled with the other party. He flew full speed. Right now he hadn't activated the double combat strength, so he wasn't a match for a second-level Void God Realm existence. After flying for a while, the creature stopped when it saw that could not catch up with Lu Ming. It did not continue to pursue him. Lu Ming heaved a sigh of relief. Then he did not dare to be careless. He retracted his aura and slowed down. Who knew if there were other powerful existences in this barbaric mountain range? As expected, after flying for a short while, Lu Ming saw another huge creature. It was similar to the one before, but its aura was more terrifying. It had reached the third level of the Void God Realm. Fortunately, Lu Ming had discovered it early on and avoided it from far away. I'll ask Senior Ancestral Dragon. With a thought from Lu Ming, shadow flashed and the Ancestral Dragon appeared. The Ancestral Dragon had been waiting vigilantly. The moment he appeared, he immediately scanned the surroundings. When he saw that Lu Ming was alone, he heaved a sigh of relief. Lu Ming, what happened? Did you manage to escape? Zulong was shocked. This time he was really going all out and the chances of success were not high. He had even prepared himself for the outcome of Lu Ming failing, and all of them being captured. At that moment, he saw that Lu Ming was alone in the wild mountains. Naturally, he was extremely surprised. Senior, I was lucky enough to take the first step. Lu Ming immediately recounted the situation. The son of the Yuanluo Palace Master? Zulong's eyes moved. Seems like he is the son of the Yuanluo Palace Master. He had been in the Heaven Realm for countless years, while Kong Long had only cultivated for about 500 years. Zulong naturally did not know about Kong Long. Lu Ming, you must keep this Kong Long in your hands. We are still on the Umbra Star. The Origin Luo Palace will definitely send a large number of experts to hunt you down. He might be useful at a critical moment. Zulong said. Senior, then how do we leave the Dark Underworld Star? Lu Ming asked. The Dark Underworld Star is extremely huge. It's much bigger than the Heaven Realm, the Primordial Realm, and the Evil God Realm combined. If we want to leave the Dark Underworld Star and head to other vital planets, we must take the S.P.A.C. teleportation array, Zulong said. Then we can use Kong Long to threaten him. Then take the teleportation formation and leave this place. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. You can't. Zulong shook his head and sighed. The Starry Sky teleportation formation must be guarded by a terrifying existence. If you encounter an existence above the 7th level of the Void God Realm, I'm afraid that even Kong Long's threat will be useless. That kind of existence is simply too powerful. I reckon they can kill you before you can even react. They can even annihilate your soul before you can kill Kong Long. So strong. Lu Ming also frowned. In the Ethereal God Realm, each realm is stronger than the previous. The difference is too big. If you encounter a true god, I'm afraid he can kill you with just one thought. Zulong said. It seems that my strength is at the bottom level in this primal universe. Lu Ming felt a little helpless. In the Heaven Realm, the Primordial Realm, and the Evil God Realm, his strength was already at the peak. However, as soon as he came to the primeval universe, he found that he was too weak. Any expert or a giant beast he encountered in the wild was stronger than him. Al still had a long way to go on his path of cultivation. Before the Martial God Realm, it was only the first step of cultivation. Becoming a martial god was the second step of cultivation. The Virtual God Realm was only the starting point of the second step. There were still true gods, heavenly gods, and divine kings, each stronger than the last. He really didn't know how terrifying an existence that had reached the God King realm would be. He probably could destroy a small world like the Heaven Realm, the Primordial Realm, and the Evil God Realm with a casual breath. Senior, can we directly cross the starry sky and head to other planets? Lu Ming gathered his thoughts and asked again. Crossing the starry sky? Zhu Long shook his head and said with a bitter smile, the starry sky is full of dangers. An ordinary virtual god will probably explode and die once they enter the starry sky. True god realm existences can stay in the starry sky for a short time, but they can't cross the starry sky. To cross the starry sky and enter another life planet from one life planet, one must at least be a heavenly god. Heavenly god realm. Lu Ming was speechless and gave up on this plan. However, one doesn't have to rely on one's own cultivation to cross the starry sky. In the primeval universe, there's a kind of warship that can cross the starry sky. However, it's so precious that ordinary people can't have it. Zulong said. Then what should we do? Lu Ming's brows furrowed deeply. You can't go to the teleportation formation. If he couldn't cross the starry sky, how was he going to leave this place? He didn't have much time left. He only had 1 year. If he couldn't leave after 1 year, the small world in his body would merge with the primeval universe. Not only him, but all the people who cultivated the nomological laws and cultivated small worlds in the heaven realm would do the same. At that time, the fluctuations would be huge. If he stayed on planet Dark Underworld, he would probably be sensed by the Origin Luo Palace. It was too dangerous to stay on the Shadowed Star. He had to leave the planet within a year. Roar. In the distance, a huge creature roared and strolled through the mountains, causing the mountains to tremble. Desolate beast. The ancestral dragon looked at the huge creature and muttered. Desolate beast? Lu Ming was puzzled. Could it be that I was not a divine beast? In the primal universe, there are 2 types of beasts. One is the godly beast, and the other is the desolate beast. Godly beasts are very intelligent. Just like humans, they created all kinds of cultivation techniques. All kinds of races gathered and spread throughout the primal universe, forming powerful forces. As for desolate beasts, their intelligence is very low. They cultivate according to their instincts and like to stay in the wild mountains. Actually, in the very beginning, desolate beasts and divine beasts were originally the same race. It was just that as time passed, they slowly split up. Zulong explained. Lu Ming nodded. He understood. This is a wild dragon. It's an extremely powerful existence among the wild beasts. It's said that in the early days, the wild dragon and the true dragon were of the same race. Zulong explained. Then the 2 of them discussed for a while. They didn't have a better idea for the time being, so they decided to go to some places where people gathered and inquire about the news before making the next preparations. After that, the ancestral dragon returned to Lu Ming's small world. Lu Ming continued to fly. It took Lu Ming more than 10 days to fly out of the mountain range. He then concealed his aura and changed his appearance. He chose a random direction and flew forward. The surface area of the dark underworld star was simply too large. Even though Lu Ming's speed here was 100 times slower than in the heaven realm, his current cultivation level allowed him to fly at an astonishing speed. However, still took Lu Ming a few more days before he saw a city. Chapter 2571, exposed. A majestic city stood tall on the ground. It looked even bigger than Two World City. Lu Ming walked through a huge city gate and entered the city. So many races. After entering the city gate, Lu Ming realized that the streets of the city were filled with people of different races. At a glance, Lu Ming discovered at least dozens of races. Although there were also humans, they had the least. The chaotic astral river is a place where all kinds of races gather. It's true. Lu Ming had a thought. During the journey, Lu Ming would chat with Zulong from time to time. Zulong told Lu Ming many things about the desolate universe. The primeval universe was boundless and had countless life planets. In the primal universe, there were countless races, each occupying a large territory. These territories were called star territories. Under each star area, there were many galaxies, and under each galaxy, there were many life planets. The Yuanluo Palace was located at the edge of the primal universe, in a place called the Chaotic Astral River. The Chaotic Astral River could be said to be one of the most barren galaxies in the entire primal universe. The powerful forces didn't care about this place at all. Therefore, it had become a special galaxy. Those from various races who can't survive, escapees, or people who are being hunted, will all come to the chaotic astral river. Thus, the chaotic astral river has countless races. This place was filled with chaos, and killing could be seen everywhere. Of course, the chaotic astral river has also formed various powers of different sizes. These powers can also be seen fighting each other everywhere. When Lu Ming first heard that this place was one of the most barren places in the entire universe, he was shocked. To Lu Ming, the cultivation environment here was already extremely amazing. It was dozens of times better than the heaven realm. Such a place was actually the most barren place in the entire universe. Then, how amazing would the places with good cultivation environments be? Lu Ming was looking forward to it. He felt that the primeval universe would be more exciting than the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. What about the Great Void Holy Dynasty? Lu Ming suddenly thought of the Great Void Holy Dynasty that Bai Ye had mentioned. The master of Netherworld Mountain, Jingyu, was from the Great Void Holy Dynasty. But where was the Great Void Holy Dynasty? Lu Ming had asked Zulong about it, but Zulong shook his head. He had never heard of the Great Void Holy Dynasty. The ancestral dragon was born and raised in the chaotic astral river. According to what he said, he had never left the chaotic astral river in his entire life. Lu Ming wandered around the streets. There were all kinds of races here, so naturally no one paid attention to him. It seems like there aren't many virtual gods? Lu Ming walked around and realized that most of the people on the street were at the martial emperor realm. In the primal universe, there were also the void prying stage, true void stage, void interpretation stage, and void transformation stage. There weren't many people who had reached the void god realm. In particular, Lu Ming had seen most of those at the transformation void martial stage and demigods. It seemed that it was not easy to break through to the martial god realm in the prehistoric universe. Lu Ming walked around and found an inn to stay in. For the next few days, Lu Ming would wander around the city or go to some restaurants to find out more. Lu Ming knew that only the two largest cities had teleportation formations. However, both cities were guarded by a large number of experts from the Yuanluo Palace. Do you want to take a risk? Lu Ming pondered. Al wanted to disguise himself in front of the teleportation formation and see if he could take the opportunity to slip through. However, he wasn't confident. Although his divine breath technique was effective in the heaven realm, this was the desolate universe. There were too many experts. Who knew if those experts would see through the disguise of the divine breath technique? Moreover, as Lu Ming's cultivation level increased, the effect of the divine breath technique became less and less. It became more and more difficult to conceal his aura. This was natural. The stronger one's cultivation was, the more powerful one's aura would be. It would be more difficult to change and conceal one's aura, unless one had a more exquisite aura concealment technique. Let's observe for a while, and see if there are any other ways. If there's no other way, we can only take a risk. Lu Ming made a decision. After that, Lu Ming stayed in the city, cultivating and thinking of ways. In this place, Lu Ming's cultivation speed was much faster than the heaven realm. Lu Ming would often use Jing Ye's portrait to comprehend the will of the ruler, and his progress was rapid. However, there was a seal on Jing Ye's scroll. Lu Ming had not been able to open it, probably because his cultivation level was not high enough. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed said. In 2 months, Lu Ming's comprehension of the path of domination had improved by a large margin. It was comparable to 10 years of cultivation in the heaven realm. He believed that it would not be long before his cultivation base would rise again. On this day, Lu Ming was walking on the streets when he suddenly looked up at the sky. Buzz. Buzz ID in the sky, a few beams of light lashed by. They were virtual god-level masters. In the past few days, there have been more and more experts in the vicinity. Indeed, they seem to be looking for someone. Around them, many people were discussing. Could it be that the experts from the Yuanluo Palace are looking for me? Lu Ming had a thought. Since he had captured Kong Long, it was only natural that the Origin Luo Palace would not let him go, and would send a large number of experts to hunt him down. Following that, Lu Ming became even more careful. However, In the next few days, Lu Ming discovered that the number of experts in the city had decreased instead of increasing. There was a trend of more and more. Some people even walked into the city and looked around with sharp eyes. It was as if the other party had locked onto the city. Lu Ming returned to the inn, summoned Zulong, and told him about the matter. Not good. The enemy must have locked onto you. You just came out of the heaven realm and haven't assimilated with the primeval universe, so you must have a strong aura of the heaven realm. It won't be difficult for the enemy to lock onto you as long as they spend some time studying you. Zulong's expression changed drastically. Lu Ming's expression changed. However, the other party didn't find you immediately. This means that they can only determine the approximate area and can't accurately determine you. Now you have to leave this place as soon as possible, Zulong said. All right. Lu Ming did not hesitate. He kept the ancestral dragon into the small world and left the inn immediately. He headed out of the city and soon left the city gate. He chose a random direction and flew forward. Stop. After Lu Ming had flown for a while, two people flew toward him, and one of them shouted. Lu Ming's heart jumped. They were two middle-aged men, both at the ethereal god realm. One of them was holding a crystal ball, which was shining with a weak light. The two middle-aged men flew toward Lu Ming. When they neared him, the crystal ball suddenly shone brightly. It's him. The two middle-aged men's eyes lit up. Buzz. Lu Ming immediately dashed out and flew rapidly in another direction. Stop right there. Chase. The two middle-aged burly men chased after Lu Ming at top speed. Chapter 2572. Surrounded the crystal balls in the two middle-aged men's hands could clearly sense Lu Ming's aura. As soon as they got close, they lit up. Lu Ming's face was gloomy as he flew at top speed. However, as time passed, the distance between him and the two middle-aged men was getting closer and closer. Brat, you won't be able to escape, one of the burly men said ferociously, his aura overbearing. The two middle-aged men were both at the second level of the void god realm. If Lu Ming was in his normal state, he would not be a match for them. Therefore, Lu Ming kept triggering the battle formula as he flew. Boom. There seemed to be an explosion in his body. The double combat power of the battle formula had been successfully activated. Lu Ming did not take action immediately. Instead, he continued flying. In the blink of an eye, both parties were far away from the city and flew into a forest. Buzz. All of a sudden, Lu Ming's figure that was flying at high speed came to a halt. Not only that, but he also charged at the two middle-aged men. A combat sword appeared in his hand and he slashed. The two middle-aged men did not expect Lu Ming to suddenly stop running and charge at them instead. They could not stop in their tracks and rushed toward Lu Ming. Boom. Boom. The two middle-aged men also made their moves. They each launched a move. However, it had happened too suddenly, so they could only use 50% of their combat strength at most. A second-tier void god could only exert 50% of his combat strength. He could not withstand Lu Ming's full power at all. One of the middle-aged men did not even have the chance to scream before he was cut in half by Lu Ming's sword. Not good. The other burly man retreated. Kill. Lu Ming wielded his combat sword and charged at the middle-aged man with cold killing intent. The middle-aged man finally came to his senses. He took out a saber and slashed at Lu Ming. Clang. The sword and saber collided, causing a violent tremor. The middle-aged man's figure was forced to retreat. Lu Ming's combat power was doubled after activating the battle formula. Although he was not a match for a third-level virtual god-level martial artist, he had an absolute advantage over a second-level virtual god-level martial artist. After forcing the middle-aged man back with one move, Lu Ming continued to attack his opponent, launching a storm of attacks. The middle-aged man's roar was like thunder. Naturally, he was not willing to be killed, so he fought back with all his might. Clang. 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 The two of them collided continuously. However, Lu Ming's combat strength was ultimately stronger. The middle-aged man was no match for him. After more than 10 moves, both his arms were shattered by the impact. He was sent flying backward and spat out blood. Whoosh. Lu Ming became one with his sword and charged forward, killing the middle-aged man. You're looking for death. At this moment, Two figures flew over from the direction of the city, exuding cold killing intent. It was obvious that the commotion of the battle had alerted the other experts of the Yuanluo Palace. Lu Ming's face darkened. With a wave of his hand, he kept the storage rings of the two middle-aged men. Then he turned into a ray of light and flew away at high speed. The two people who came later were very powerful. One of them was at the second level of the Void God realm, while the other had a terrifying aura, and had reached the third level of the Void God realm. This was not the Heaven realm. Lu Ming could mobilize the power of the Heaven realm's primordial realm, and the Evil God realm. Here, Lu Ming was definitely not a match for a third-level Void God realm expert. Lu Ming flew at top speed, with two people in hot pursuit behind him. These two people also looked middle-aged. One of them was a burly man with a single horn on his head, while the other was a human with loose hair. The human's cultivation was at the third level of the Void God realm. The two sides, one chasing and one fleeing, flew tens of thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. Buzz. At this moment, a figure suddenly dashed out from a mountain peak in front of Lu Ming. It was a burly elder who was holding a crystal ball in his hand. At this moment, the crystal ball was flashing and reflecting light. Ha ha ha. You've really worn out your iron shoes in a long search, but you found it without any effort. The burly old man laughed and threw a punch at Lu Ming. A terrifying fist force came crushing toward Lu Ming. Boom, boom, boom. The fist force had yet to arrive, but it brought with it a terrifying wave that pressed down on Lu Ming, making him hold his breath. Lu Ming exerted all his strength and slashed with his sword. Buzz, the combat sword and the fist force collided. The combat sword shook violently. Lu Ming felt a violent force surging towards him. He could not help but retreat backward, his chi and blood churning. Third-level Void God realm is indeed powerful. Lu Ming steadied his body, his expression grave. With his current combat strength, he couldn't deal with a third-level Void God realm existence. Unless his cultivation base broke through to the 3-star Heavenly Emperor realm, and the battle formula doubled his combat power, he would not be able to compete with a third-level Void God realm expert. The moment Lu Ming stopped, the two people behind him caught up and surrounded him. Two of them were at the third level of the Void God realm, and one was at the second level of the Void God realm. Hee hee kid, let's see how you're going to escape this time. The one-horned man sneered. Lu Ming frowned. He was no match for the two third-level Void God level powerhouses. He was about to use Kong Long to threaten them. With Kong Long in his hands, he did not believe that the other party would dare to make a move. Kill. However, at this moment, the burly man with messy hair made his move. He was very decisive. A long spear appeared in his hand. A terrifying spear radiance shot out with a terrifying whistling sound, and pierced towards Lu Ming. He did not give Lu Ming any chance to react. Lu Ming could only wave his sword to block. Clang. The combat sword and the long spear collided and Lu Ming retreated rapidly. Kill. Kill. The burly elder and the one-horned man also made their moves and charged toward Lu Ming. The old man's fist force was astonishing. He was wearing a pair of gloves on his hands, which were clearly divine artifacts. Every punch was terrifying. Lu Ming tried his best to block a few moves. His body was in great pain as if it was about to split open. However, just as Lu Ming was at a complete disadvantage, a sudden change occurred. The man with messy hair suddenly changed the direction of his spear. He was no longer attacking Lu Ming, but the burly elder instead. The burly old man had never thought that the other party would suddenly attack him. He had not been prepared at all. The long spear pierced through the old man's forehead and the old man died. This scene not only stunned Lu Ming, but also the one-horned burly man. Then he roared. Song Mo, what are you doing? Kill. The reply to the horned man was the disheveled-haired man's cold shout. He took advantage of the situation and pulled out his long spear, sweeping it across and hitting the horned man. The horned man screamed as his body was split into two. Go down and find the answer yourself. The big man with messy hair said coldly. Then he thrust his spear again and killed the one-horned man. It happened so suddenly that the burly elder and the horned man were killed by the burly man with messy hair in an instant. Lu Ming retreated and was on guard. He was very curious as to why the other party would suddenly kill each other. The burly man with disheveled hair looked at Lu Ming with a complicated look in his eyes. He seemed to be reminiscing about the past. After a moment of silence, he said, "You're from the Heaven Realm, right?" Chapter 2573 Mysterious Woman. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming was sincerely grateful. No need to thank me. You carry the hope of the Heaven Realm on your back. I really hope that you can get out of this danger. Song Emmo smiled. Senior, how can I break the restriction on your body? Junior has mastered the Tao of a sovereign, and might be able to help break the restriction. Lu Ming said. And MBSB his Tao of domination was extremely profound and might work. You've actually mastered the Tao of a ruler? Song Emmo was shocked. Even in the primal universe, there weren't many people who had mastered the Tao of a ruler. Every single one of them was a peerless genius. Lu Ming could actually control such power. Ha ha ha, good, good, you really are the hope of the Heaven Realm. Song Emmo laughed out loud. Her face was full of smiles. After a while, Song Emmo said, however, your cultivation is too low. The scale on my body was personally placed by the Hall Master of the Origin Luo Palace. Even if you have mastered the ruler's Tao, I'm afraid you'll have to wait until you reach the True God Realm before you can remove our seal. True God Raylin. Lu Ming muttered. Indeed, it was not that simple. If it was that simple, then the ancestor of technique would probably be able to help them resolve it in secret. Go, but be careful. I'll find a way to lure away some of the people from the Yuan Luo Palace nearby. Song Emmo said. Senior, Lu Ming will remember your kindness today. If Lu Ming manages to escape danger, he'll definitely come back to save you in the future. Lu Ming cupped his fists, his gaze determined. All right, I believe you. Song Emmo smiled. Then, Lu Ming used his movement technique and turned into a ray of light, leaving the place. After Lu Ming left, Song Emmo destroyed all traces of the crime scene and left the place. After flying for some distance, Lu Ming landed on the ground and ran along the ground. After all, he would be a big target if he flew in the air. Moreover, Lu Ming did not have a fixed direction. He would head east and west at times, zigzagging in order to avoid being detected by the people from the Origin Luo Palace. Although it would be slower, it was at least safe. Lu Ming followed the map given by Song Emmo and headed towards the Stellar Iron Mine. The people from the Yuan Luo Palace could only capture Lu Ming's approximate location with the crystal ball. They could not pinpoint his exact location. Now that Lu Ming was moving at a high speed and his direction was constantly changing, it was more difficult for the other party to capture his precise position. Therefore, Lu Ming did not encounter any experts from the Yuan Luo Palace. However, the area of the shadowed star was too large. Lu Ming's speed was slow to begin with. It took him more than 2 months to reach the vicinity of the stellar iron mink. Their souls will be heavily restricted, and they can only listen to their orders. Otherwise, they will suffer a fate worse than death. As she said this, Song Mo's eyes revealed a hint of ferocity. Damn it, it's actually like this. Lu Ming also shouted coldly. Since ancient times, almost all the demigods that walked out of the Heaven Realm and the Primordial Realm were controlled by the Origin Net Palace and became their slaves, death warriors. If there's any danger, let us do it. If things don't go well, they can control the restrictions and torture us. As for us, we can't escape at all. Once we leave a certain range of the Yuan Luo Palace, the restriction will activate, and we'll be better off dead. Song Emmo said again. Towards the end, she was filled with helplessness and desolation. Lu Ming's face was gloomy. He could understand Song Mo's feelings. In the Heaven Realm and the Evil God Realm, they had reached the Demigod Realm and were almost at the peak. They had come to the primal universe with great ambition, wanting to break through to a higher realm. However, in reality, they had become the slaves of the Yuan Luo Palace. How sad was this? You must be cultivating the nomological system, right? I've met a few demigods who walked out of the Heaven Realm and cultivated the nomological system. They cultivated a small world, but once they came to the primeval universe, their small world would merge with the primeval universe after a year. You have to escape from the underworld star within a year. Otherwise, you will definitely be found by the experts of the Origin Luo Palace. Song Emmo said. Senior, do you have any ideas? Lu Ming asked. There are only two ways to leave the underworld star. One is to take the S.P. AC teleportation formation, and the other is to take the S.P. AC battleship. But now, everyone on the entire planet is looking for you, and the teleportation arrays are being guarded by terrifying experts. If you go, you will be discovered. As for the starship, it's extremely precious and rare. I don't have one either. Song Emo also frowned. Lu Ming was silent. The current situation was really not good. He had originally wanted to go to the teleportation formation to try and see if he could sneak through it. But now the other party could capture the Heaven Realm aura on him. If he went, he would only be walking into a trap and die. What should I do? Lu Ming also frowned. Now I can only try my luck. Song Emo said suddenly after a moment of silence. Try my luck. Lu Ming was puzzled. Not bad. Song Emo nodded and said. Over the years, most of the demigods from our heaven realm have been controlled by the Yuanluo Palace. However, one person managed to escape from the control of the Yuanluo Palace. You might have heard of him. The people of the heaven realm call him the ancestor of technique. Ancestor of technique. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. He had naturally heard of the ancestor of technique. He was a legendary figure in the heaven realm. The ancestor of technique was a rare genius. At the end of the primordial era, the ancestor of technique came out of nowhere and created the nomological cultivation system. He also allowed the nomological cultivation system to expand rapidly. In the end, the nomological cultivation system even defeated the primordial cultivation system and became the mainstream cultivation system in the heaven realm. The ancestor of technique's entire life could be written into a legend. Later on, when the ancestor of technique's cultivation reached the demigod level, he left the heaven realm. The heavenly realm's heavenly thunder emperor was one of the ancestor of technique's disciples. The ancestor of technique broke away from the control of the Yuanluo Palace and took risks to train outside. In the end, he stepped into the true god realm and returned to the chaotic astral river. He established a force and gathered many experts to fight against the Yuanluo Palace. Song Emo said. Lu Ming nodded. Anyone from the heaven realm would want to destroy the Yuanluo Palace after knowing the truth. It was normal for them to fight with the Yuanluo Palace after they had successfully cultivated the nomological laws. All these years, the ancestor of technique's power has been growing stronger and stronger, and he has been fighting against the Origin Luo Palace for a long time. There is a stellar iron mine on the underworld star that produces precious stellar iron. Some time ago, I heard that someone from the ancestor of technique's power attacked that stellar iron mine. If you go to the stellar iron mine and are lucky enough to meet the people from the ancestor of technique's force, you can leave the darkness star with them. This is the only way now. You take this. Song Emo waved her hand, and a jade talisman flew towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming reached out and took it. He scanned it with his spiritual senses and realized that it was a huge map. This is the map of the dark underworld star. Follow the map on it, and you will be able to accurately find the location of the stellar iron ore. I can't stay with you for too long, or else I will be easily exposed. Song Emo said. Swipe left to continue. Chapter 2574 Righteous Army, let's go. Lu Ming turned around and left, increasing his speed to the maximum. He thought that the woman had come to help, and it would be dangerous if he stayed. The woman was surprised. She thought that Lu Ming would try his best to hold her back when the experts from the stellar iron mine noticed her and rushed over. She did not expect Lu Ming to run faster than her. Is he not from the Yuanluo Palace? The woman thought to herself, and then her figure moved, leaving the place. Not long after they left, a few figures appeared at the place where they had just fought. Looking at the ravines on the ground, one of the old men revealed a sinister sneer. It seems like the righteous army hasn't given up and is still lingering nearby. Hee, we've captured their people, so they naturally want to save them. Then we'll just wait to capture them all in one fell swoop. Another old woman sneered. In a flash, the few of them disappeared. Lu Ming ran for more than 100,000 miles before he stopped and found a place to rest. He'll observe for a while. If it doesn't work, I'll have to find a hidden place on the underworld star and merge the small world with the primal universe. Lu Ming pondered. Although there was a huge risk of being discovered by the experts of the Yuanluo Palace, there was no other way. After resting for 2 days, Lu Ming headed in the direction of the stellar iron ore. Buzz. And MBSP whoosh. Lu Ming had walked for a while when he heard the sound of intense fighting ahead. It was obvious that someone was fighting. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. He then restrained his aura and leaned over carefully. 3 middle-aged men were attacking a woman. It's her. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. The woman who was being attacked was the beautiful woman who had attacked Lu Ming previously. At this moment, the woman was surrounded by 3 burly men and was in a critical situation. Among the 3 burly men, 2 of them were at the 2nd level of the Void God realm, while the other one had reached the 3rd level of the Void God realm. Although the woman was strong, she was no match for the 3 of them. A little girl from the Zhengfa army. Not bad. She's pretty enough. I can take her down and enjoy her. Haha. The 3rd level Void God realm burly man used an iron rod and waved it, creating loud rumbles and shocking power. With one strike, the woman's body trembled and she was sent flying. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face turned pale. BASTARD from the Yuanluo Palace. The woman gritted her teeth and tried her best to run to the side, but the 3 men were tightly holding her, making it difficult for her to escape. So she's not from the Yuanluo Palace, but from the righteous army. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. It was getting closer and closer to the 1-year period. There were less than 8 months left. At this point, Lu Ming was even more careful. This was because there was a terrifying expert in the stellar iron mine. Without a doubt, there was definitely an existence above 7th level Void God realm. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. Lu Ming concealed his aura and approached the stellar iron ore carefully, planning to check out the situation. This area was an endless mountain range. There were huge mountains everywhere that reached into the clouds. Lu Ming hid in one of the mountains and looked into the distance. In the distance, there were mountains and a huge mine vein. There were many figures mining there, and some experts were patrolling. There was nothing unusual. Senior Song Mo. The people from the Ancestor of Techniques faction came to attack this mine. But now a few months have passed. Said. Are the people from the Ancestor of Techniques still here? Even if they are, how can I find them? Will they attack again? Lu Ming pondered and many thoughts flashed through his mind. He decided to wait nearby. Next, Lu Ming waited near the stellar iron ore. However, he did not stay in one position all the time. Instead, he kept changing his position to avoid being discovered by the other party. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. However, there was no movement all. The stellar iron ore had been operating peacefully. Could it be that the Ancestor of Techniques people have already left? Lu Ming frowned. Time was getting shorter and shorter. Not long after, Lu Ming changed his direction again and carefully headed to another mountain peak. All of a sudden, Lu Ming felt a chill in his heart. He could sense that danger was approaching. Lu Ming took a step forward, and his body suddenly shifted 100 meters to the right. Whoosh! A ray of sword light landed on the spot where Lu Ming had just landed, cutting a deep trench on the ground. You actually dodged my sword, not bad. A crisp voice was heard. Lu Ming turned around and saw a woman. This woman's skin was like jade, and her facial features were exquisite. She was an absolute beauty. She had a thick ponytail and was dressed in martial attire. She held a long sword in her hand and looked rather heroic. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Did the people of the Yuanluo Palace find out? Buzz. Lu Ming retreated quickly. At the same time, he constantly cast the battle symbol art, hoping to trigger the double combat power of the battle symbol art. A mere transformation void martial stage wants to escape in front of me? Stay here. The woman shouted. Her figure was like a fleeting shadow as she rushed toward Lu Ming. With a wave of her long sword, a dazzling sword light slashed toward Lu Ming. The combat sword appeared in Lu Ming's hands, and he slashed continuously. Bang, bang, bang. A concentrated explosion sounded. Lu Ming's arm went numb, and he retreated quickly. What powerful battle strength! Lu Ming was slightly shocked. This woman's cultivation was only at first-tier virtual god level, but her divine power was condensed and strong. Her attack power was shocking and she could actually suppress Lu Ming. Forcing Lu Ming back, the woman charged at him again. She waved her long sword and hundreds of sword lights burst out, shrouding Lu Ming. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming finally activated the double combat power of the battle character formula. His combat sword shook and rays of sword light burst out, clashing with the woman. Clang. Clang. The speed of their attacks was shockingly fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. After dozens of exchanges, the two were both pushed back hundreds of meters. They were evenly matched. Could it be a genius from the Yuanluo Palace? Lu Ming thought in his heart. Now he had activated the double combat strength of the battle formula. His combat strength was very close to the third level of the Void God realm, and he could kill people at the second level of the Void God realm. However, this woman, who was only at the first level of the Void God realm, was able to fight him to a draw. Lu Ming was shocked, but he did not know that the woman's heart was turmoil. How is that possible? How can be so powerful? The woman roared in her heart. Lu Ming's cultivation level was only at the transformation Void Martial stage, and was far from the Void God stage. However, his combat strength was so strong that he could fight with her. It was simply unbelievable. The Tao of a sovereign. The power he controls is actually the Tao of a sovereign. There's actually a genius on the Tao of a sovereign on Shadowed Star. I can't believe the Yuanluo Palace has such a genius. I must get rid of him. Many thoughts flashed through the woman's mind. Then a ruthless look appeared in her eyes. She gritted her teeth, raised her long sword, and charged at Lu Ming again. However, the moment the woman made her move, their expressions changed. In the distance, a few beams of light rose from the stellar iron mine. It was obvious that the battle here had been discovered. Chapter 2575 Escape Plan. You have a way? The young woman's face was full of doubt, obviously not believing him. Lu Ming had a way to save the people of the righteous army and take back the interplanetary warship? How was that possible? Although Lu Ming was terrifyingly talented, his cultivation level was still low. At most, his combat strength was on par with hers. What could she do? One should know that there were at least a few 9th-tier virtual god-level powerhouses in the stellar iron ore. As for the 7th-tier and 8th-tier virtual god-level powerhouses, Lu Ming would probably be killed with one slap if he went there. Sometimes you don't need to rely on force to save people. Let me show you something, and you'll know. Lu Ming smiled. He waved his hand and a person appeared in his hand. This man was the young master of the Yuanluo Palace, Kong Long. I'm alone. At first, the young woman was stunned, but then her beautiful pupils suddenly enlarged. This is the young master of the Yuanluo Palace, Kong Long? The young woman gasped. She had never expected to meet Kong Long here. You've seen it before? Lu Ming asked. I've seen him a few times. The woman said. She seemed to have thought of something, and a bright smile appeared on her face. Kong Long had been locked up by Lu Ming for more than half a year, and was already in a daze. He was stunned for a while before he could see the situation clearly. Brat, you're dead. I'm telling you, you're dead. Let me go, or I'll make sure you don't even have a corpse left. Tongshi, or what are you doing here? When Kong Long first saw Lu Ming, he shouted at the top of his lungs. Then, his gaze swept past the young lady and he was stunned. Kong Long, I didn't expect you to end up like this. Hee, looks like I'm quite lucky. Tongshi sized up Kong Long and sneered. You. What are you trying to do? Kong Long's face paled. You speak too much nonsense. Lu Ming said. He waved his hand and kept Kong Long. My cultivation isn't high enough. Even with Kong Long, I'm afraid he'll be killed instantly if I encounter an expert at or above the 7th level of the Void God realm. However, you have a 9th level Void God realm expert. If he uses Kong Long to exchange for the people of the Righteous Sky Army and the Starry Sky Warship, I'll have full confidence. Lu Ming said. This was his plan. If he could exchange Kong Long for the people of the Righteous Heaven Army and the interplanetary warship, he could leave Shadowed Star and owe the Righteous Heaven Army a favor. Why not? All right, if I succeed this time, well, definitely be grateful. Tong Xier's face was also filled with joy. By the way, Tong Xier, what's your name? Tong Xier asked. Lu Ming. Lu Ming answered. Brother Lu, let's go. I'll bring you to meet the people of our Zhengtian army, Tong Xie said. It was really like he had worn out his iron shoes in a long search, but found it without any effort. Song Mo had mentioned before that the power created by the ancestor of technique was called the Righteous Army. Since this woman was from the Righteous Army, she could not die at the hands of the Yuanluo Palace. Lu Ming began to cast the battle formula, triggering the double combat strength. He was lucky this time. It only took 3 tricks and Lu Ming's combat strength was doubled. Lu Ming approached carefully. He suddenly burst out and charged forward. Who's there? As soon as Lu Ming made his move, the other party noticed him. A second-level Void God Realm burly man berated him and turned around to attack. However, the other party had attacked in a hurry and could not block Lu Ming. He was sent flying by Lu Ming's sword. Then Lu Ming continued to step forward and strike with his sword. Blood splattered everywhere. The burly man was killed by Lu Ming. After killing the burly man, Lu Ming charged towards another second-level Void God-level burly man. It's him. The young woman's eyes lit up when she saw Lu Ming. Her body flashed rapidly as she dodged the attack of the third-level virtual God-level powerhouse. Without the 2 second-level Void God Realm men's attacks, the woman's pressure was greatly reduced. She dodged a few of her opponent's attacks, and her situation was much better. Brat, you're looking for death. The third-level Void God Realm burly man roared and charged toward Lu Ming. Lu Ming turned around and left. He did not want to confront the other party head-on. The burly man roared and chased after the woman, but she had already run far away. Lu Ming did not linger in the battle. He sprinted at top speed, and then made an R in the air, chasing after the woman. After the 2 big men chased for a while, they seemed to have some apprehensions and didn't dare to continue chasing. Instead, they stopped and sent out a message. Lu Ming followed the young lady and ran for more than 100,000 miles. At this moment, the young woman stopped and looked at Lu Ming. Although you saved me, you don't have to keep following me. What do you want? You're from the Righteous Army? Lu Ming asked. The woman's expression changed slightly. That's right. I'm very curious. Who are you? The people from the Yuanluo Palace seem to want to deal with you too. You're really from the Righteous Army. I'm from the same hometown as the ancestor of technique. Can you take me to see him? Lu Ming was overjoyed. Ancestor of technique? Who is it? The woman frowned in confusion. And, you don't know about the ancestor of technique? The ancestor of technique was the one who created the Righteous Army. Lu Ming said. You mean the general? You're from the same hometown as the general? The woman was puzzled. Yes, it's true. Now the entire dark underworld star is hunting me down. Lu Ming said. Regardless of whether you are from the same hometown as the general, it is a fact that you and the Yuanluo Palace are enemies. The enemy of an enemy is a friend. However, it is impossible for me to bring you to the general now. The woman shook her head and sighed. What's going on? Lu Ming had a bad premonition. Last time, some of us came to attack the star iron mine on the dark underworld star, planning to take away a batch of their iron ores. However, we didn't expect that the other party had set up an ambush in advance. A part of us died in battle, a part of us were captured by the other party, and only a part of us managed to escape. The senior who controlled the Starry Sky battleship has also been captured by the enemy. Now the Starry Sky battleship is in their hands. If we want to escape from the underworld star, we have to rescue the Righteous Army and take back the Starry Sky battleship. The woman said. Lu Ming was really speechless. It wasn't easy for him to meet the people of the Righteous Army, but they ended up like him, trapped and unable to escape. Now there are many experts from the Yuanluo Palace in the Stellar Iron Mine. They are waiting for us to attack so that they can catch us all in one fell swoop. I have been looking for news in this area. The woman said. Lu Ming finally understood why the woman attacked him the moment she saw him. She probably thought he was from the Yuanluo Palace and wanted to capture him for information. What's the cultivation level of the strongest expert in the Stellar Iron Mine? Lu Ming pondered for a moment and asked, "Ninth level Void God Realm." The woman said, "Then what cultivation level did your people who escaped have?" Lu Ming asked again. "There's also a ninth level virtual god, but there's only one of them. On the other hand, there are several ninth level virtual god level powerhouses in the stellar iron mine. Therefore, we're no match for them at all." The woman said, "There's also a ninth level ethereal god realm expert." "Haha, that's enough. I can help you save your people and take back the interplanetary warship." Lu Ming burst out laughing. Swipe left to continue. Chapter 2576 Crossing the Starry Sky. All right, there's no time to waste. We'll set off to save them now. You two follow me. Deputy General Sun took Kong Long and looked at the two men. The two men were at the 8th level of the Void God Realm. They were the two with the highest cultivation apart from Deputy General Sun. Immediately, the three of them carried Kong Long and flew away. Lu Ming did not need to care about what happened after that. He believed that Deputy General Sun and the rest would definitely have a way to successfully exchange for the people from the Righteous Sky Army and the interplanetary warship. Kong Long was the young master of the Yuanluo Palace. The people of the palace would not dare to reject the exchange of hostages. Lu Ming and the rest only had to wait quietly. In less than a day, Deputy General Sun and the others returned with more than 20 other people. It was a success. Lu Ming knew that Deputy General Sun and the rest had succeeded. "Let's go, we have to leave the underworld star. The people of the Origin Luo Palace will definitely hunt us down," Deputy General Sun said. With a wave of his hand, a small boat appeared in SPAC. The shape of the boat was very strange. It did not look like a boat, but rather similar to the SPAC breaking shuttle that Lu Ming had seen in the Yuan continent. Both ends were pointed, forming the shape of a shuttle. It was pitch black in color and had strange runes carved all over its surface. Lu Ming knew that this was probably an interplanetary warship, a warship that could travel in the universe. Lu Ming's heart was burning. The price of such a warship would definitely be astonishingly high. This was because true gods could only stay in the universe for a short period of time. They were unable to cross the universe. Only sky celestials had the ability to travel across the starry sky, from one planet to another. From this, it could be seen how precious this kind of starry sky battleship was. If he could have one, he would be able to travel freely in the universe. As soon as the interplanetary warship appeared in the sky, it expanded rapidly. "All of you come in," Deputy General Sun said. Buzz. Buzzard. Buzz. Everyone's figures flickered as they rushed into the interplanetary warship. Deputy General Sun was the last to enter. After he entered the Starry Sky battleship, the Starry Sky battleship turned into a rainbow light and shot into the sky at an astonishing speed. Whoosh! The Starry Sky battleship shot into SPAC like a beam of light. Very quickly it broke through the atmosphere and headed towards the outer SPAC. On the walls of the starship, there were pieces of transparent crystals. Through the crystals one could see the outside. Lu Ming looked outside through the crystal. Then, her figure flashed and she headed in a direction. Lu Ming followed Tong Xier closely. Neither of them flew in the air. Instead, they ran on the ground. However, their speed was also very fast. After running for a few hours, the two of them arrived at a rather remote canyon. "Who is it? Stop!" a middle-aged man shouted as soon as the two of them arrived. He appeared in front of them and blocked them. "Uncle Lu, it's me," Tong Xier said. When the middle-aged man saw that it was Tong Xier, he smiled. Then he glanced at Lu Ming, and a hint of wariness appeared in his eyes. "Xier, who is he?" he asked. He couldn't help but be on his guard. This was Planked Underworld, the territory of the Yuan Luo Palace. The Righteous Army and the Yuan Luo Palace were sworn enemies. The remaining members of the Righteous Army were all here. Now that he saw a strange man, he naturally had to be on guard. "Uncle Lu, his name is Lu Ming. He is also an enemy of the Yuan Luo Palace. He has a way to help us save Uncle W. and G and the others," Tong Xier said. "Al has a way to save her?" The middle-aged man's eyes were filled with suspicion. He could tell at a glance that Lu Ming was only at the transformation void martial stage. Such a cultivation was not worth mentioning in his eyes. How could he possibly have a way to save their companions? Sheer, don't be fooled by him. He might be from the Yuanluo Palace to win your trust. At this point, the middle-aged man's face turned ugly. If that was the case, they were all in danger. His body was already filled with cold killing intent, ready to attack at any time. Uncle Lu he want. He has the young master of the Yuanluo Palace, Kong Long. Tong Shi hurriedly said. The young master of the Yuanluo Palace, Kong Long? The middle-aged man's aura immediately weakened, and his face was filled with bewilderment. If Lu Ming really had Kong Long, he would definitely not be from the Yuanluo Palace. Even if it was to capture them, he would not use Kong Long to risk his life. It was impossible. This was also the reason why Tong Shi could bring Lu Ming here without worry. That's right. Kong Long is in my book. Miss Shear has already read it. Lu Ming immediately told him his plan. Good. Haha, brother Lu Ming. I misunderstood you just now. I'm sorry. The middle-aged man laughed in embarrassment. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Under such circumstances, it was normal for the other party to be more cautious. I'll take you to see Deputy General Sun, the middle-aged man said. Then he led Lu Ming and Tong Shi into the depths of the canyon. Deep in the canyon, Lu Ming saw a group of people. There were about 30 of them. They were all experts, and all of them were at the 3rd level of the Void God realm or above. Among these people, Tong Shi's cultivation was the weakest. Deputy General Sun, the middle-aged man, and Tong Shi bowed to one of the gray-robed elders. This gray-robed old man was Deputy General Sun. The highest position in the Righteous Heaven Army was the general, who was also the ancestor of technique. Below the general, there were some deputy generals, and below them, there were the generals and deputy generals. This old man was a deputy general, and a 9th-level Void God realm existence. When the people in the canyon saw Lu Ming, they were all on guard. However, when Tong Shi and the others said that Lu Ming had Kong Long, they were all overjoyed. Lu Ming waved his hand and Kong Long appeared. It's really Kong Long. I've seen him once. Haha, we're saved. When the righteous army saw Kong Long, they were all ecstatic. He was no longer on guard against Lu Ming. Kong Long's face turned pale when he saw so many righteous army soldiers. Al cowered and did not dare to shout anymore. Senior, I'll have to trouble you. Lu Ming pass, said Kong Long to Deputy General Sun. Haha, Lu Ming, if we can escape this time, you can state any conditions you have. Deputy General Sun laughed. Junior's condition is very simple. I just want to leave with you all, and then I need a place to settle my family and friends. Lu Ming said. Haha, that's easy. Our Zhengtian army has occupied more than a dozen life planets. We don't have much else, but we have a huge territory. You can choose whatever you want. Deputy General Sun grinned and took Kong Long. 3 pounds. Chapter 2577. Meeting the ancestor of technique. After arriving at the living room, Lu Ming and Tong Shi chatted casually and waited. Not long after, a shadow flashed outside the living room, and a figure suddenly appeared. It was a man who looked to be in his 30s. He was wearing a black robe and had a handsome and elegant appearance, giving off a gentle feeling. Shi greets the general. When she saw this young man, Tong Shi hurriedly stood up and bowed. This man was the general of the Righteous Heaven Army, the ancestor of technique of the Heaven Realm, the legendary figure who had founded the cultivation system of the nomological laws. Ha ha ha, no need to be so polite. I'm here to meet my fellow villager. The ancestor of technique laughed and walked in. Lu Ming greets the ancestor of technique. Lu Ming also stood up and bowed. It was his first time meeting this legendary figure, and he was very excited. No need to be so polite, no need to be so polite. The ancestor of technique waved his hand, and a gentle force lifted Lu Ming up. It's been many years since someone called me by this title. In the future, you can call me General like everyone else. The ancestor of technique smiled and sized Lu Ming up carefully. He has the aura of the Heaven Realm. He's indeed from the Heaven Realm. He has even cultivated the system of laws and condensed a small world. The ancestor of technique murmured. He looked at Lu Ming with an increasingly friendly gaze. Lu Ming, how did you get out of the heaven realm? What happened in the heaven realm? I once sneaked into the dark underworld star, but the Paes, sage to the heaven realm has been sealed, so I can't even get in. The ancestor of technique asked a few questions. It was clear that he was not calm either. Lu Ming understood that the ancestor of technique must have returned to the shadowed star after his cultivation had improved. However, the Paes, sage was sealed by ancestral dragon and patriarch of prison suppression with heaven suppression talismans. The ancestor of technique was too strong, and if he broke the seal by force, he would destroy the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. Senior, it's like this. Immediately, Lu Ming gave a brief account of what had happened in the heaven realm and the evil god realm. I see. After the ancestor of technique heard this, he nodded and sighed. Senior, I've brought out most of the divine beasts and humans in the heaven realm and the primordial realm. In a few months, our small world will merge with the primeval universe. We need a place to settle these living beings. Lu Ming said. That's easy. I'll pick a place for you immediately. The ancestor of technique laughed. The true heaven star was astonishingly large, several times larger than the dark underworld star. He could see that the land behind him was shrinking. Very soon, a blue planet appeared below. Is this the dark underworld star? It was the first time that he saw a planet in front of him. Lu Ming was shocked. In the heaven realm, such a wondrous scene could not be seen. The huge underworld star was spinning slowly in the universe. In Lu Ming's vision, became smaller, and one day, it'll come back to the dark underworld star. One day, it'll take back the heaven realm and the primordial realm. Senior Song Mo and the other seniors from the heaven realm. I will set you free one day. The Yuanluo Palace has treated the people of the heaven realm as medicinal herbs. One day, I will flatten the Yuanluo Palace. Lu Ming secretly swore in his heart. His eyes were determined. The underworld star became smaller and smaller in Lu Ming's eyes. In the end, it became a small black dot and disappeared. Lu Ming looked at other places and sighed in his heart. Beautiful, too beautiful. The starry sky in the universe was simply too beautiful. The stars were dazzling, and they were currently traveling through the universe. The primeval universe is the real world. It's vast and boundless. Looking at the starry sky, Lu Ming felt his heart open. The heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm were still too small. They were only small kiliocosm, and could not be compared to the primeval universe. The primeval universe was too vast and boundless. There were countless races and experts. Those legend-rank experts were able to roam the universe freely, and were immortal. Lu Ming suddenly felt a sense of pride in his heart. He felt his blood boiling. One day, he would also become an expert who could dominate the universe. Although he was still far away now, when Lu Ming had just started cultivating, he was still far away from being a peak expert in the heaven realm. But in the end, Lu Ming still achieved it. Lu Ming had a feeling that the desolate universe would be more exciting than the heaven realm and the primordial realm. Now they were going to the headquarters of the righteous heavenly army, the righteous heavenly star. The underworld star was very far away from the true heaven star. One could imagine that the surface area of a single dark underworld star was 10,000 times larger than the total surface area of the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. However, the underworld star was just a speck of dust in the universe. One could only imagine how great the distance between different planets was. Even if the speed of an interplanetary warship was amazing, it would still take several months to travel. In the Starry Sky battleship, Lu Ming would occasionally cultivate and chat with Tong Xier and Deputy General Sun. He had also learned a lot about the common knowledge of the desolate universe. At the same time, when the people of the righteous army found out that Lu Ming came from a small kiliocosm and was from the same hometown as the general of the righteous army, their attitude towards Lu Ming changed completely. They treated Lu Ming as one of their own. A few months passed, said in the blink of an eye. A huge planet appeared in front of them. This planet was the true heaven star. True Heaven Star was named after the True Heaven Army occupied this place, so it was naturally not called this before. What a huge planet! From afar, Lu Ming could feel that the True Heaven Star was astonishingly huge. Its size was at least a few times larger than the Shadowed Star. It gave a strong visual impact. The starship slowed down and slowly approached True Sky Star. Slowly, Lu Ming could see mountains, rivers, and even huge cities on the True Heaven Star. Not long after, they entered the atmosphere of True Sky Star. At this time, Deputy General Sun put away the interplanetary warship, and they appeared in the air. What a dense divine qi! Lu Ming took a deep breath and felt that the divine qi here was extremely rich. Was more than twice as rich as on the Underworld Star. Such a cultivation environment was simply too good. Let's go. Deputy General Sun took the lead and flew toward a mountain peak. Lu Ming and the rest followed. This mountain peak was extremely wide, and on top of it, there were many palaces that were majestic and magnificent. Between the mountain peaks, experts were constantly flying around. So many experts. Lu Ming was secretly shocked. At a glance, he could see that most of the city's virtual god-level existences were there. There were only a few below virtual god level. However, Lu Ming also understood that this should be the headquarters of the righteous army. There would naturally be many experts here. There would definitely not be so many experts in other places. Soon they arrived at a square. Bring Lu Ming to the living room and wait. I'll report to the general. He'll be very happy to know that a fellow villager has come. Deputy General Sun said. All right. Tong Xier nodded, then looked at Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, come with me. Let's go to the living room. All right. Lu Ming nodded and followed Tong Xier. Chapter 2578 World Merging. Moreover, some of these people had been stuck in the demigod realm for countless years. It was impossible for them to break through in the heaven realm. The heaven realm's conditions weren't enough for someone to break through to the martial god realm. At most, they could only cultivate to the demigod realm. Their foundation and their comprehension had already reached their limits. At this moment, the moment he arrived at the desolate universe, the moment he arrived at the True Heaven Star, he had an impulse to break through. Let's release them first and settle them down. It won't be too late to break through after the small world fuses with the primeval universe. Yes. Immediately, Lu Ming and a few people who cultivated small worlds released the divine beasts and humans inside. People kept appearing on the plane. Not long after, a dense crowd of humans and divine beasts appeared. Their numbers were immeasurable. This was the entire heaven realm and primordial realm's people and divine beasts, so their numbers were naturally terrifying. However, this plane was really too big. It was more than 10 times the size of the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm. It could easily accommodate them. Everyone were safe. This is the true Bevan Star, the primeval universe. We can settle down here and build our city. Lu Ming's voice rang in everyone's ears. Is this the primal universe? God, what kind of energy this? It's much stronger than original qi. My cultivation feels like it's about to break through. I'm just taking a breath. I feel like I can strengthen my body and achieve a breakthrough in cultivation, even if I don't cultivate in this environment. Countless humans and godly beasts felt the environment here and were extremely shocked. The cultivation environment of True Sky Star was much better than that of the heaven realm and the primordial realm. It was like heaven and earth. They were right. Even if one didn't cultivate here, one's cultivation could still be improved. This was especially true for some low-level martial artists. For example, those below the martial royal realm felt that their cultivation was improving with every breath they took. Their bodies were also being tempered and constantly becoming stronger. Their feelings were not wrong. In the primeval universe, any creature, regardless of whether they had cultivated or not, could reach the martial royal realm as long as they were adults. In other words, in the primeval universe, any farmer had the cultivation of a martial emperor. This was the divine realm. It was incomparable to the heaven realm. The environment here was too good. Any living being that stayed here for a long time would automatically evolve in all aspects and transform. It was a place for the living beings of the heaven realm, and the primordial realm to relax. Follow me. The ancestor of technique was swift and decisive in his work. With a wave of his sleeve, a wave of energy swept Lu Ming up and flew out. The ancestor of technique's speed was extremely shocking. The scenery around them kept flying past. Not long after, they had flown far away and arrived at a GRA's land. This GRA's land stretched as far as the eye could see, and there was no end to it at all. This GRA's land is wide and open, and its area is at least 10 times the size of the Heaven Realm, Primordial Realm, and Evil God Realm. Your small world can merge here, the ancestor of technique said. Many thanks, Senior. Lu Ming was also very excited. Finally, he had found a way out of the Heaven Realm. He had finally won a chance of survival and successfully escaped with everyone. Senior, please wait a moment. With that, Lu Ming had a thought and his figure appeared on a mountain peak in his small world. Here, the ancestral dragon, Venerable Lord Sky Thunder, the Titan Longhorn Beetle, and the rest had been waiting for Lu Ming's news. At the same time, they were also prepared to fight to the death if there was any danger. La Ming. The moment La Ming appeared, Zhu Long and the rest looked at him. Lu Ming, what's the situation now? If we really can't do it, we'll just fight to the death. Everyone chimed in. Everyone, we have already left the dark underworld star. Lu Ming smiled. What? Have you left the dark underworld star? Zhu Long and the others were stunned for a moment, and then they were overjoyed. He had left the underworld star. Could it be that he had already escaped? We're safe. Also, we'll take you to see someone. With that, a force enveloped the ancestral dragon and the others, moving them out of the small world. The moment the ancestral dragon and the others appeared, they looked around. The next moment, they all focused on the ancestor of technique. After seeing the ancestor of technique, the ancestral dragon, Heavenly Thunder Emperor, and the others were stunned. Master. Master. The Heavenly Thunder Emperor muttered to himself as if he had been dumbfounded. Then he trembled with excitement. Disciple greets Master. After a long while, the Heavenly Thunder Emperor bowed down. Ancestor of technique, it's the ancestor of technique. At the same time, some people cried out in surprise. A portion of these people had existed since the archaic era. Some of them were even older than the ancestor of technique, so they naturally knew him. Now that he saw the ancestor of technique, he was shocked. The ancestor of technique had left the Heaven Realm a long time ago. He didn't expect to meet him here. Tianlei, it's been many years since we last met. It's time for you to make a breakthrough in your cultivation, he said. The ancestor of technique smiled. Ancestor of technique. The ancestral dragon muttered with a complicated gaze. When the ancestor of technique was still in the Heaven Realm, he had already been ordered to guard the Heaven Realm. When the ancestor of technique left the Heaven Realm, he naturally knew. Also, he knew that those people would be controlled by the Yuanluo Palace once they left the Heaven Realm, but he had no choice. He couldn't stop them or remind them. It was not until the prison-guarding patriarch went to the Bevan Realm and took out the heaven-suppressing seal that they joined forces and sealed the Pa-S Sage to the Heaven Realm. However, to his surprise, the ancestor of technique was not controlled by the Yuanluo Palace. It's like this. The ancestor of technique has created the righteous army to fight against the Yuanluo Palace. Lu Ming briefly told him about the ancestor of technique and how they came to the true Heaven Star. The general of the righteous army, the ancestral dragon, and the others muttered. At this moment, they deeply understood that the ancestor of technique's current realm was far beyond what they could guess. It was probably shockingly high. Otherwise, how could they establish the righteous army and resist the Yuanluo Palace? Some of the people here were of the same generation as the ancestor of technique, and some of them were even older than him. But at this moment, all of their eyes were filled with respect. The path of cultivation was like this. The one who had reached the top came first, regardless of age. Since the ancestor of technique's cultivation was already far above them, they naturally could not look at him like they were of the same generation. The ancestor of technique's gaze swept across the crowd and he nodded slightly. He felt rather complicated. There were many familiar faces here. After so many years, he was quite moved to see so many familiar faces. All right, you guys can stay here for now. I'll send someone to help you. If you need anything, you can let me know, the ancestor of technique said. With that, he turned into a beam of light and left this place. Is this the primal universe? What a dense divine chi. This kind of cultivation environment is truly shocking. I feel like I'm about to break through. Ilaha, me too. The moment the ancestor of technique left, everyone started to feel it. They were all shocked by the cultivation environment here. 23. Chapter 2579 Becoming Gods. One after another, the heaven and earth returned to its peaceful state. The small worlds of all the people who cultivated the nomological laws system in the heaven realm and the primordial realm had fused with the GRA's land. The area of this GRA's land had also expanded a little, and the distance between some big cities had become further. Boom, boom. At this moment, several auras soared into the sky. It was extremely shocking. That is, breakthrough to the war god level. Lu Ming's gaze flickered, and he looked in the direction of the aura. Heavenly Thunder Emperor, Renegade Emperor. There were a total of 5 people, and their auras were getting stronger and stronger, reaching their peak. This was a sign of a breakthrough to the martial god realm. Lu Ming did not expect that the Heavenly Thunder Emperor and the others would also make a breakthrough at this time. However, it was normal when he thought about it. Venerable Lord Sky Thunder, Venerable Lord Rebellion, and the others had long become demigods. With their ACCU mulation over a long period of time, they could have broken through to the martial god realm. However, in the heaven realm, the conditions were limited, so it was difficult to succeed. And in BSBHuhu, the bodies of the 5 venerable sovereigns were like 5 vortexes, constantly absorbing the energy of heaven and earth. The divine chi in the world surged and gathered towards them. After a few days, their auras rose sharply. A layer of light covered the surface of their bodies like a flame. It was a burning divine fire. They had broken through to the first level of the void god realm. There's no heavenly tribulation. Lu Ming's eyes flickered, feeling a little surprised. He had discovered this situation a long time ago. During this period of time, too many people and divine beasts in the heaven realm and the primordial realm had broken through, but none of them had a heavenly tribulation. In the heaven realm and the primordial realm, breaking through to the martial emperor realm, martial saint realm, and martial emperor realm would all be accompanied by disasters. But here, there was nothing. In the heaven realm, there was also a terrifying heavenly tribulation when one broke through to the demigod realm. Lu Ming had thought that there would be a heavenly tribulation when one broke through to the martial god realm. He did not expect that there was none. Perhaps this is the difference between the heaven realm and the primordial realm and the primeval universe. Lu Ming pondered. In the heaven realm, the primordial realm, and the evil god realm, the heavenly Tao was supreme. All heavenly tribulations were evolved from the heavenly Tao. Many talented people could easily cultivate to the rank of martial saint or martial supreme. Of course, it was not easy to reach the martial god realm. This was a barrier that stopped 99% of the creatures in the primeval universe. Everyone, let's get familiar with each other before we begin. Lu Ming's voice was heard again. Everyone familiarized themselves and got used to it. Then Zulong and the others started to make arrangements. Everyone started build a city on the plain. Not long after, a group of experts came from the righteous heaven army, responsible for the safety of the many creatures in the heaven realm. After all, there were some living creatures in this GRA's land. Although there were no terrifying existences, any living creature had the cultivation of the martial royal realm. They were a threat to most of the humans and divine beasts in the heaven realm. Following that, countless heaven realm beings began to get busy. One after another, huge and majestic cities were erected on the GRA's land. At the same time, the righteous heaven army had formation experts to help them inscribe a formation. This way, as long as they stayed in the city, they would be safe. A few months said in the blink of an eye. Countless living beings in the heaven realm settled down on this GRA's land. Hundreds of huge cities suddenly appeared in this boundless GRA's land. In the past few months, the cultivation of countless people in the heaven realm had skyrocketed and kept breaking through. Especially those with low cultivation, their breakthrough speed was even more shocking. For example, Lu Ming's parents, Li Ping and Lu Yuntian, had rushed straight into the martial sage realm. Moreover, they were improving every day. There were countless living beings in the heaven realm. When they first came to such a place, they were bound to have a period of explosive growth. After their cultivation was high, their growth would be slow. It would take much longer for a martial emperor to level up. However, there were still many martial emperors who had broken through. The lower one's cultivation level, the easier it was to break through. On this day, a series of rumbling sounds came from Lu Ming's body. The 1-year period is up. Lu Ming's gaze flickered. It had been a year since he came to the desolate universe. The small world in his body was about to merge with the primeval universe. Lu Ming's body moved and he turned into a ray of light, appearing on an open plain. At this moment, countless people rushed out and came to the open plain. Like Lu Ming, they cultivated the nomological system and relined small worlds. At this moment, they had to integrate with the desolate universe. Buzz. Lu Ming's small world shook more and more violently, and then flew out automatically. After the small world flew out, it landed on the GRA's land and merged with the land. The area of the GRA's land was rapidly expanding. Lu Ming felt a wave of weakness in his body. This was caused by the fusion of the small world and the primeval universe. Buzz. At this moment, the mountain and river diagram flew out from between Lu Ming's eyebrows and fused with the ground. As expected, even a grotto heaven treasure is no good. I can't keep it. Lu Ming sighed. The nature of grotto heaven treasures was the same as small worlds. They were not allowed to exist in the primal universe. In the primeval universe, except for some S.P.A.C. secret realms that were born naturally, the small worlds that were man-made and could allow living creatures to live were all not allowed to exist. This was how domineering the primeval universe was. It was the only one. However, spatial treasures like storage rings were fine. This kind of spatial treasure could only open up A.S.P.A.C. and store things. Living beings could not survive in it. So it was fine. Fortunately, Lu Ming had stored all the treasures of the mountain and river diagram in his small world. In the heaven realm, all the living beings who had cultivated small worlds had merged with the earth. Ayuala. At this moment, an extremely powerful energy poured into Lu Ming's body. He did not even need to refine it. This energy automatically transformed into world energy and master energy. The feeling of weakness disappeared quickly, and Lu Ming was filled with energy again. This was the feedback from the primal universe. The primeval universe was fair. If his small world was taken away, there would be corresponding energy that would be fed back to him. Lu Ming felt that the world energy and the ruler's energy in his body were surging. His total energy did not decrease. His cultivation level was still the same as before. It was just that the small world had disappeared and turned into the power of the world and the power of domination. That's good. It'll be easier for me to break through to the martial god realm in the future. Lu Ming smiled. In order to break through to the martial god realm, he had to combine all his energy into one. Even if the small world did not merge with the primeval universe, he would still have to find a way to merge everything into one in the future. However, that would be more troublesome. In this case, it would be more convenient for Lu Ming to break through to the battle god realm in the future. He would take fewer detours. 23. Chapter 2580 Zik Nianqing becomes God. Xie Nianqing and Xie Nianjin's auras were too shocking. Even though they had already stabilized their cultivation in the void god realm, they were still shocked. Furthermore, this was not the end. Xie Nianqing and Zik Nianjin's auras were still rising. As time passed, the two of them seemed to have turned into two suns. One was as black as ink, while the other was holy and perk. They were like two suns, one black and one white, hanging in the sky, illuminating the entire GRA's land. At this moment, the entire GRA's land and hundreds of giant cities could see the situation here. Such a commotion was too terrifying. Xiao Qing and Xian Yanjin's breakthrough is much more shocking than the others. Lu Ming also sighed in his heart. At that moment, Lu Ming could sense that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's auras were dozens of times stronger than the others. Furthermore, it was still getting deeper. Buzz. Not far from Lu Ming, a shadow flashed and a figure appeared. It was the ancestor of technique. Clearly, even the ancestor of technique was alarmed. It's transforming. It's constantly transforming. Is it controlling the divine grade divine power? The ancestor of technique muttered. His eyes were filled with shock. And NBSB Hohu, Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's attraction was getting stronger and stronger. Endless divine qi rolled towards the two, but it obviously couldn't keep up with the speed of their refining. Lu Ming's expression changed. He waved his hand and divine crystals appeared one after another. A total of 2,000 yuan. 1,000 yuan went to Xian Yanqing, and 1,000 yuan went to Xian Yanjuan. As soon as the divine crystals reached their bodies, they exploded one by one, turning into extremely dense divine qi that flew into their bodies and were absorbed. A day later, they had finished absorbing all 1,000 divine crystals. However, they didn't seem to want to stop. There are still 3,000 yuan left. Oh, use them all. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and decided to throw out the remaining 3,000 divine crystals. However, at this moment, the ancestor of technique, who was not far away from Lu Ming, waved his hand and divine crystals flew out towards Zik Nianqing and Zik Nianjuan. Lu Ming used his spiritual senses to scan and found out that there were a total of 6,000 divine crystals. Each of them had 3,000 divine crystals. Bang! Bang! These divine crystals also exploded one by one, turning into divine qi that was absorbed by the two. However, after a few days, the two of them still didn't stop cultivating. The ancestor of technique waved his hand again, and another 1,000 divine crystals flew out. This time he finally had enough. However, that heavenly Tao was only the heavenly Tao of the heaven realm, and the primordial realm. It had nothing to do with the primeval universe. Perhaps, there was no such thing as a heavenly tribulation in the primeval universe. Lu Ming smiled. This was good too. His parents' cultivation had been improving. It was only a matter of time before they broke through to the martial emperor realm. Without the heavenly tribulation, Lu Ming would be more at case. Congratulations, congratulations. Many people flew over to congratulate Venerable Lord Heavenly Thunder, Venerable Lord Rebellion, and the others for successfully breaking through to the martial god realm. Heavenly Thunder Emperor and the others were all smiling, unable to hide the excitement in their hearts. They had been trapped in the same realm for too long. In the past, it had been difficult for them to break through. Now that they had broken through, they suddenly felt like birds flying in the sky, and their hearts had opened up. Lu Ming also came forward to congratulate him. After a lively atmosphere, Lu Ming returned to his residence. Lu Ming was currently living in a newly built city. Xian Yanqing, Lu Shenhuang, Lu Qi, his few disciples, and his parents all lived in this city. Lu Ming entered a room and sat cross-legged. A piece of crystal appeared in his hand. This crystal was the size of a fist, and it was crystal clear. These crystals were called divine crystals, and they were made of pure divine qi. In Netherworld Mountain, the divine stone that Lu Ming obtained was also condensed from divine qi. However, that kind of divine stone could be said to be inferior to divine crystals. The divine qi contained in it could not be compared to divine crystals at all. Perhaps tens of thousands of divine stones were only equivalent to one divine crystal. After all, Netherworld Mountain had been sealed in the heaven realm and the primordial realm. After a long time, its divine qi was no longer pure. The divine stones that it had condensed naturally could not compare to divine crystals. Divine crystals were the hard currency of the divine realm. They were divided into low grade, middle grade, high grade, and top grade. The divine crystals in Lu Ming's hands were low-grade divine crystals. One of them was equivalent to tens of thousands of divine stones. As for divine crystals of mid-grade and above, they were naturally even rarer and more precious. Lu Ming had killed 7 to 8 Void God Realm experts when he invaded the Heaven Realm. On the Underworld Star, he had also killed a few Yuan Luo Palace experts. He had obtained some low-grade divine crystals from their storage rings. In total, there were more than 5,000 pieces. 5,000 low-grade divine crystals would be more than 100 million divine stones if they were exchanged for divine stones. As for exchanging it for supreme-grade raw gemstones, it was an even more astronomical figure. Aurirocs were born from the Heaven Realm and the Primordial Realm. They were worlds apart from divine crystals, so they naturally couldn't be compared. Lu Ming tidied up the items in his hands and continued to cultivate. Time flew by and soon, another year had passed. Over the past year, more people had broken through. The overall strength of the people from the Heaven Realm and the Primordial Realm had been increasing. Moreover, many demigods had successfully broken through and entered the Martial God Realm. Almost all of the older demigods had entered the Martial God Realm. Even Dandan the Tan Longhorn Beetle, the 9 Lives Devilish Silkworm, and the others were almost there. Lu Ming, I'm going to break through, Xian Yanqing said to Lu Ming. He's about to break through? All right, I'll protect you. Lu Ming was overjoyed. And Zik Nianqing nodded. The two of them left the city and came to an empty land. Thank you, Nianjuan. In front of him, a figure sat cross-legged in the air, shining with brilliant holy light. He didn't expect to meet Xian Yanjuan here. You're going to break through too? Xian Yanjuan looked at Xian Yanqing in surprise. Not bad. Xian Yanqing nodded. I didn't expect that your cultivation speed would be so fast even after you've devoured the memories of your previous life. I'm a little jealous, hee. Xian Yanjuan smiled. If I don't cultivate faster, it'll be Serpa said by you. Xian Yanqing also smiled faintly. Then he went to the other side and sat cross-legged in the void. Ili's body was surrounded by a black light. Xian Yanjuan didn't say much. He closed his eyes and adjusted his state of mind. Boom. Boom. 3 days later, almost at the same time, a shocking aura burst out from the two of them. A black light beam and a white light beam shot up into the sky and broke through the clouds. At this moment, countless people looked over. What a shocking aura! Someone has broken through to the Martial God Realm. In a city, Zulong's eyes flickered. Then he soared into the sky and appeared not far from Lu Ming not long after. Then the Heavenly Thunder Emperor and the others also appeared one by one and watched from afar. At this moment, Zik Nianging and Zik Nianjin's auras were getting stronger and stronger, as if they would never stop. Boom. 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 Heaven and earth rumbled, and their bodies were like 2 black holes. Endless divine chi between heaven and Karth gathered toward them and poured into their bodies. Their auras rose once more, and a terrifying pressure spread out. This aura. How can it be so shocking? It's so terrifying. It's more than 10 times more terrifying than when we broke through. How could it be? The Ancestral Dragon, Venerable Sovereign Rebellion, Venerable Sovereign Sky Thunder, and the others couldn't stay calm anymore. They all exclaimed in shock. 23. Chapter 2581 Zik Nianqing becomes God. Xian Yanqing and Xian Nianjin's auras were too shocking. Even though they had already stabilized their cultivation in the Void God Realm, they were still shocked. Furthermore, this was not the end. Xian Yanging and Zik Nianjin's auras were still rising. As time passed, the two of them seemed to have turned into 2 suns. One was as black as ink, while the other was holy and perk. They were like 2 suns, one black and one white, hanging in the sky, illuminating the entire GRA's land. At this moment, the entire GRA's land and hundreds of giant cities could see the situation here. Such a commotion was too terrifying. Xiao Qing and Xian Yanjin's breakthrough is much more shocking than the others. Lu Ming also sighed in his heart. At that moment, Lu Ming could sense that Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's auras were dozens of times stronger than the others. Furthermore, it was still getting deeper. Buzz. Not far from Lu Ming, a shadow flashed and a figure appeared. It was the ancestor of technique. Clearly, even the ancestor of technique was alarmed. It's transforming. It's constantly transforming. Is it controlling the divine grade divine power? The ancestor of technique muttered. His eyes were filled with shock. And NBSB Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's attraction was getting stronger and stronger. Endless divine qi rolled towards the two, but it obviously couldn't keep up with the speed of their refining. Lu Ming's expression changed. He waved his hand and divine crystals appeared one after another. A total of 2,000 yuan. 1,000 yuan went to Xian Yanqing, and 1,000 yuan went to Xian Yanjuan. As soon as the divine crystals reached their bodies, they exploded one by one, turning into extremely dense divine qi that flew into their bodies and were absorbed. A day later, they had finished absorbing all 1,000 divine crystals. However, they didn't seem to want to stop. There are still 3,000 yuan left. Oh, use them all. Lu Ming gritted his teeth and decided to throw out the remaining 3,000 divine crystals. However, at this moment, the ancestor of technique, who was not far away from Lu Ming, waved his hand and divine crystals flew out towards Zik Nianqing and Zik Nianjuan. Lu Ming used his spiritual senses to scan and found out that there were a total of 6,000 divine crystals. Each of them had 3,000 divine crystals. Bang! Bang! These divine crystals also exploded one by one, turning into divine qi that was absorbed by the two. However, after a few days, the two of them still didn't stop cultivating. The ancestor of technique waved his hand again, and another 1,000 divine crystals flew out. This time he finally had enough. When they finished absorbing the 2,000 divine crystals, their auras finally reached their peak, and then slowly stabilized. He had broken through to the martial god realm. Both Xian Yangying and Xian Yanjuan had entered the martial god realm, and were at Lai One Void god realm. Senior ancestor of technique, many thanks. Lu Ming flew toward the ancestor of technique and cupped his fists thanks. This time, if the ancestor of technique had not taken out 10,000 divine crystals, Lu Ming would not have had enough divine crystals. It's only a little divine crystal. No need to thank me. These two women aren't simple, the ancestor of technique said with a smile. He then turned into a beam of light and left. He's not simple. Lu Ming also muttered in his heart. When Zik Nianqing and Xian Yanjuan were below the battle god realm, their performance was already amazing. However, when they broke through to the battle god realm, it seemed that they were even more amazing. It was as if some kind of transformation had occurred. Xian Yanqing's previous life, or Xian Yanjin's previous life, was probably not a small matter. Lu Ming had wanted to ask Xian Yanqing about this a few times, but Xian Yanqing seemed to have some reservations, and was unwilling to say more. Lu Ming wanted to get Xian Yanjuan beat around the bush, but Xian Yanjuan did not want to say more. So Lu Ming could only give up. Congratulations, congratulations. At this moment, Xian Yangying and Xian Yanjin's auras had stabilized. Zhu Long and the others quickly went up to congratulate them. Becoming a martial god was equivalent to stepping into another level of life, becoming a god and stepping into the second step of cultivation. This was no small matter. Xian Yanjuan was very cold. He simply nodded and stepped into the air, leaving the place. Many thanks to all the seniors. Xian Yanqing smiled and nodded. Then he flew toward Lu Ming. Not long after, Zhu Long and the others also left. Little Qing, how do you feel? Lu Ming held Xian Yanqing's hand and said, I feel fine. Do you want to exchange a few moves with me? Xian Yanqing blinked his big eyes and looked at Lu Ming with a faint smile. What's wrong? Are you still thinking of stepping on me? Lu Ming joked. When he first met Xian Yanqing had been thinking about stepping on him every day. What's wrong? It won't work. Xian Yanqing's eyes widened. Let's see if you have the ability to do so. Lu Ming smiled and planted a kiss on Zik Nianqing's red lips. Then he retreated and stood opposite Zik Nianqing. Since you dared to take advantage of me, I'm going to eat you back. Xian Yanqing's eyes flickered. In a flash he charged at Lu Ming. So fast. Lu Ming's heart trembled. He took a heavy step back and his figure retreated rapidly. Then his entire body was filled with a dazzling purple-gold light. Lu Ming had circulated about 80% of the Tao of domination and sent out a palm. The powerful palm force rushed towards Xian Yanqing like a mountain. Xian Yanqing also struck out with his palm. His palm was as white as jade and was wrapped in a layer of black light. Bang! The two palms collided. Instantly, Lu Ming's expression changed. He felt a terrifying force surging toward him. Lu Ming's arm was in severe pain, and he retreated 100 miles. What powerful strength! Lu Ming was secretly amazed. He had already used 80% of his strength, but he couldn't block Xian Yanging's attack at all. He retreated quickly, but Xian Yanqing didn't even move. Use your full strength, or you won't be my match. Xian Yanqing smiled. It seems like I can only use my full strength. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. He pushed his path of domination to its limits. At the same time, he had already started to activate the battle character formula. Since he came here, Lu Ming had not stopped his comprehension. His understanding of the battle symbol art was getting deeper and deeper. The success rate of triggering the double combat strength of the battle symbol art had also increased. After a few moves, Lu Ming successfully triggered it, and his combat strength soared. Buzz! Zik Nianqing was like a black stream flight as he charged towards Lu Ming and struck out with his palm again. Lu Ming also struck out a palm. Boom! The two of them exchanged blows for the second time. An earth-shattering boom erupted in the sky, and the force spread in all directions. Then a figure retreated rapidly. It was still Lu Ming. This strength! Lu Ming was really shocked. He had unleashed his full power, and even activated the double combat power of the battle formula. With this level of combat power, he could easily kill an ordinary second-level Void God realm. However, he was still crushed by Xian Yanqing. Kontinuk! Lu Ming's interest was piqued. He rushed towards Qin Yanqing without any hesitation, and unleashed his full strength. He and Xian Yanging exchanged blows and fought fiercely. 23. Chapter 25 82 3-star Heavenly Emperor. However, after exchanging more than a dozen moves with Xian Yanqing, Lu Ming realized dejectedly that he was no match for Xian Yanging. He was completely crushed. Xian Yanging's divine power was strong, condensed, and indestructible. It was so powerful that it was unfathomable. I'm done. After exchanging more than 10 moves, Lu Ming retreated, and decided not to fight anymore. You're not fighting? Then I'm going to take back what you took from me. In a flash, Xian Yanging appeared in front of Lu Ming and pressed his red lips against his. Lu Ming took the opportunity to wrap his arm around Xian Yanging's slender waist. He held Xian Yanging in his arms. His hands were already on the peaks of Zik Nianking's chest, and he was rubbing them wantonly. The two of them separated after a long while. You're really lucky. Xian Yanqing blushed. Ha ha ha, we're already an old couple, yet you're still shy. Lu Ming smiled. Then they held hands and walked on the GRA's land. Little Qing, could it be that the Shen power you cultivate is divine grade Shen power? Lu Ming asked. After being here for a few months, Lu Ming had looked for Tongxi CR and borrowed some books to read. They were all common knowledge about the primeval universe. Lu Ming had a lot of general knowledge about the primeval universe, including cultivation. The divine power that the martial god realm cultivated was also divided into different levels. The Shen power that a normal person cultivated was just normal Shen power. The Shen power that some geniuses cultivated was very powerful and more condensed than normal Shen power. It had many different mysteries. This kind of Shen power was called King Grade Shen power. Above King Grade Divine Power, there was a higher grade of divine power called Sacred Grade Divine Power. Those who could control Sacred Grade Divine Power were all peerless geniuses who were 1 in a billion. Their combat power was shocking, and they could casually challenge those of higher levels. Lu Ming suspected that the divine power that Zik Nianqing cultivated was divine grade divine power. Of course, there was an even stronger divine power above the divine grade divine power. It was the divine grade divine power. Divine grade divine power was even rarer. Every kind of divine grade divine power had endless wondrous uses. Every person who could control divine grade divine power was a genius among geniuses, unparalleled. For example, when Lu Ming entered the martial god realm, the path of domination would transform into the divine power of domination, which was a kind of divine grade divine power. My cultivation technique and my physique are quite special. Below the martial god realm, It's the process of building the foundation. Alter breaking through to the martial god realm. I will undergo a transformation and become stronger rapidly. I have sacred grade divine power now, but it will become stronger in the future. When the time comes, I might even surpass your divine power of a ruler. Xian Yinqing explained with a smile. That's great. I'll be relying on you to protect me from now on. Lu Ming also smiled. The two of them chatted and laughed as they walked. After a while, they returned to their residence. After returning to his room, Lu Ming sat cross-legged. It's almost time for me to break through, Lu Ming muttered. After this period of cultivation, Lu Ming's cultivation level had already reached the peak of 2-star Heavenly Emperor. He could already break through to 3-star Heavenly Emperor. Lu Ming took out the remaining divine crystals he had and started cultivating. In his body, the power of the world and the power of domination were circulating rapidly. Lu Ming began to break through to the next realm. Bang! Bang! The divine crystals exploded and turned into divine qi, which was absorbed by Lu Ming. At the same time, the divine qi between heaven and earth surged towards Lu Ming. Boom! 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 The Dominator's energy and world energy in Lu Ming's body continued to grow stronger. However, the proportion of ruler's power in it was slowly increasing. Using divine crystals to break through was much faster than in the heaven realm. In just a few days, a powerful aura burst out from Lu Ming's body. His cultivation had broken through, and he had reached the 3-star Celestial Emperor level. Eli's strength had also increased. With my current combat strength, if I activate the double combat strength of the battle formula, I should be able to fight against a 3rd-level Void God realm. Lu Ming speculated about his combat strength. When he was a 2-star Heavenly Emperor, his combat strength was still a little inferior to a 2nd-level Void God realm without activating the battle formula that doubled his combat strength. I was slightly inferior. This was because the gap between each stage of the Void God realm was even greater than that of the Heavenly Emperor realm. Now that he had broken through to the 3-star Heavenly Emperor realm, he was confident that he could fight or even defeat a 2nd-level Void God realm powerhouse without triggering the battle formula that doubled his combat strength. After using the double battle formula, he was confident that he could fight against a 3rd-level Void God realm. Of course, the opponents he was referring to were those who could control ordinary divine power. It was naturally difficult for those who could control king-grade divine power, and above to do so. But I don't have many divine crystals left. Lu Ming sighed. He originally had 5,000 divine crystals. He had given 2,000 to Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan, so he only had 3,000 left. When he broke through to 3-star Heavenly Emperor, he had used more than 2,000 divine crystals, so he only had a few hundred divine crystals left. He instantly felt poor and under great pressure. He had a family to feed now. His son, granddaughter, parents, and disciples all needed resources for their cultivation. Right now, their cultivation was not particularly high. The supreme-grade raw stones and divine stones that he had left were enough. Moreover, the cultivation environment here was very good, so he didn't need any divine crystals for the time being. However, as his cultivation level increased, he would definitely need divine crystals in the future. Lu Ming had to prepare some divine crystals. Moreover, he needed a large number of divine crystals for his own cultivation. Otherwise, he would run out of resources for his next breakthrough. How do I carn some god crystals? Lu Ming could not help but think about this problem. Previously, when Xian Yinqing and the others broke through, the ancestor of technique had already taken out 10,000 divine crystals. Naturally, he couldn't be thick-skinned and ask for divine crystals from the ancestor of technique now. The ancestor of technique was already good enough to them. Let's go out and take a look. Let's see if the righteous army has any missions that can carn divine crystals. At the thought of this, Lu Ming walked out of the room and flew in the direction of the righteous divine army. Lu Ming. Lu Ming had just arrived at the righteous army when he heard someone calling him. Monsieur. Lu Ming revealed a smile. Lu Ming, why are you free to come to the righteous army today? Tong Xir said with a smile. I'm here to see if the righteous army has any missions that can earn me some divine crystals. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. To carn god crystals? Why don't we go to the myriad gold star? We can hunt the desolate beasts on the myriad gold star and get their beast cores. We can sell them for quite a lot of divine crystals. Tongxue said. Myriad gold star, how do I get there? Lu Ming asked. I'm also going to the myriad gold star to hunt dire beasts. Let's go together, but we're short on people. I wanted to go to the Righteous Army Mission Hall and find a few more people. Tongxue said. I'll go find 2 people. Lu Ming said. He thought of Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan. Sure, I'll go rent an interstellar warship. We'll meet here tomorrow. Tongxue said. 22. Chapter 2583 Myriad Gold Star. Rent an interplanetary warship? Lu Ming was stunned. That's right. Myriad Gold Star is not a planet occupied by our Righteous Sky Army. This planet is very special. It is completely made of all kinds of metals. The desolate beasts on it are also made of metal. This planet is not occupied by any forces. Many people from the forces can go and hunt desolate beasts. That's why our Zhengtian army doesn't have a teleportation array that leads directly to the Myriad Gold Star. We can only teleport to the closest location to the Myriad Gold Star, and then fly there on an interplanetary warship. Tongxue explained. Then, the cost of renting an interstellar warship must be quite high. Lu Ming said. One rent will cost 1,000 divine crystals. Tongxue said. 1,000 divine crystals. Lu Ming was shocked. The price was shockingly high. It can't be helped. The Starry Sky battleships are too precious. Our Righteous Heaven Army only has a dozen of them, and they're all of the lowest grade. They can't fly too far. They can only fly for a year in S.P.A.C. Any further, and they won't be able to. Besides, after every S.P.A.C. flight, the starship needs to be maintained. It's expensive, of course. It's said that some major forces have higher-grade Starry Sky battleships. The rental fee is even more shocking. However, those Starry Sky battleships are not only faster, but they can also fly for a longer time and a longer distance in the universe. Tongxue explained. Lu Ming sighed secretly. It seemed that he did not know enough about the common knowledge of the primeval universe. Miss Xie, can you pay for the rent of the starship first? I'll pay you back when I earn some divine crystals. Lu Ming blushed. He was really poor and could not afford to fork out so many divine crystals. I'm fine. Tongxue smiled and bade Lu Ming farewell. Lu Ming returned to his residence and looked for Xian Yanqing. He told him about this and Xian Yanqing agreed. Then the two of them went to find Xian Yanjuan. All right, I'll go with you. Xian Yanjuan agreed without hesitation. As a matter of fact, Xian Yanjuan was also severely lacking divine crystals for cultivation. It was just what she wanted to earn divine crystals, by hunting wild beasts. In the blink of an eye, it was the next day. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and Xian Yanjuan arrived at the place where they had agreed to yesterday. Tongxue was already waiting there. What beautiful women! Tongxue looked at Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan, her eyes filled with surprise. Let's go. Meet with Tongxue. Tongxue left first, and soon they arrived at the S.P.A.C. teleportation formation of the Righteous Army. The teleportation array in the primal universe looked similar to the teleportation array in the Heaven Realm and the Primordial Realm. After they stepped into the teleportation array, they felt the world spin around them, and they disappeared from the teleportation array. The journey to Myriad Gold Star was not short. They had to change to another teleportation array on the way to the nearest plank to Myriad Gold Star, Tianguang Planet. After 3 transfers, they arrived at Tianguang Planet. Tianguang Planet was the closest planet to Myriad Gold Planet among the planets that the Righteous Heaven Army had occupied. After arriving at Tianguang Planet, Tongxue took out the Starry Sky battleship. After the 4 of them entered the battleship, the Starry Sky battleship broke through the sky and flew towards Myriad Gold Planet. The Starry Sky battleship would take a month to reach the Myriad Gold Star, so the 4 of them cultivated while waiting. A month later, a huge planet appeared in front of them. In terms of size, this planet was far smaller than the true Heaven Star and the Underworld Star, but it was very special. From a distance, it looked like a huge gem suspended in the starry sky, shining brightly. According to Tong Xier's introduction, most of the materials on Myriad Gold Star were all kinds of strange metals. Even the living beings on it were not made of flesh and blood, but were made of metal. The desolate beasts above were the same. And the beast cores that were condensed in the bodies of these desolate beasts became a very precious material for refining weapons. The higher the grade and cultivation of the desolate beast, the more precious and expensive the beast core condensed by it was. And NBSB this attracted many experts to come and kill desolate beasts to obtain their beast cores. Boom, boom, boom. The interplanetary warship entered the atmosphere of the Myriad Gold Star and rubbed against the atmosphere, making loud rumbling sounds. At this moment, the four of them exited the interplanetary warship and stood high in the sky. The Starry Sky battleship quickly shrank and was put away by Tong Xier. Let's go down. It was not Tong Xier's first time here, so she was the first to fly down. Below him was a boundless forest. As expected, they are all made of metal. As they neared the forest, Lu Ming was secretly amazed. The trees and vegetation here were all made of strange metals. Lu Ming saw iron trees, silver flowers and golden fruits. Of course, these ordinary metals were of no use to them, so they didn't care. The world is full of wonders. Lu Ming sighed. The greater world in the primeval universe was indeed more wonderful than the lesser world. An entire planet was made of all kinds of metals. The plants and living beings were all made of metal. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Legend had it that in the vast universe, there were many more wonderful planks, some of which were beyond imagination. As they neared the forest, Tong Xier's speed decreased. We have to be careful on the Myriad Gold Star. Not only are the wild beasts dangerous, but the experts from other forces are even more dangerous. Tong Xier said. Lu Ming nodded. He understood that many forces would come here to hunt dire beasts. There were probably many powerful people on this Myriad Gold Star. It was normal for these powerful people from different forces to hunt people from other forces for their beast cores. The four of them landed in the forest, concealed their auras, and slowly ran forward. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the front, and then a silver light flashed. They saw a huge figure rushing towards them. Retriel. The four of them quickly retreated. Boom! The earth rumbled, and the metal on the ground exploded and splattered. A huge creature appeared at the spot where Lu Ming and the rest had been standing. It was a giant ape, more than 30 meters tall. Its body was silver white as if it was cast from silver. Even the hair on its skin was like silver needles. Roar! The giant silver ape roared angrily. Its silver eyes emitted a cold glint as it charged toward Lu Ming and the others. Its huge fist, which was the size of a small house, smashed toward Lu Ming and the others, bringing with it a terrifying whistling sound. I'll fight him. Lu Ming rushed over, circulated the ruler's power, and threw a punch. Thump. A dull boom was heard. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force surging towards him, and he could not help but retreat. However, the giant ape also took a few steps back, causing the ground to crack. What terrifying power! What a hard fist! Lu Ming's eyes flashed. 3 pounds. Chapter 2584 Metallic Life Form. This giant ape was astonishingly powerful, and its entire body was made of metal. It was extremely sturdy and immortal. Whether it was in terms of defense or strength, it was extremely terrifying. It's Serpa, said other creatures of the same level. This giant ape had a cultivation base of second-level Void God Realm. However, its ability was so powerful Serpa, said the other second-level Void God Realm powerhouses that Lu Ming had encountered before. That roar! The giant ape retreated and let out a furious roar before charging at Lu Ming again. Kill. Lu Ming took out his divine weapon sword and charged at the giant ape. Clang. Clang. Lu Ming's combat sword kept clashing with the silver giant ape. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged more than 10 moves. Sparks flew everywhere where they collided. In the end, the giant silver ape was not Lu Ming's match. Even if Lu Ming did not activate the double combat strength of the battle formula, he could still suppress the giant silver ape with the additional combat strength of the battle formula, the cultivation base of a 3-star celestial arch, and his physical strength. The giant silver ape kept retreating. Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and Tong Xier did not make a move. They formed an encirclement and stood at the side to be on guard, afraid that other strong pract. 1. Tioniers or desolate beasts would attack them. Clang. 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 Lu Ming and the silver giant ape exchanged dozens of moves in a row. Finally, Lu Ming seized the opportunity and cut off the ape's head. Ayu. Lu Ming heaved a long sigh of relief. This silver giant ape was really hard to kill. Fortunately, this silver ape doesn't have much intelligence. Otherwise, it would be even more difficult to deal with. Lu Ming sighed. It's said that there are intelligent metal life forms in the primeval universe. They're an extremely powerful race, and are ranked among the top among the countless races in the primeval universe. Tong Xiu said. There really is a metallic life form with intelligence. Lu Ming was secretly amazed. Then, Lu Ming broke open the chest of the giant silver ape, and took out a round piece of metal. This was the giant silver APC's beast core. A second-level Void God Realm metal beast core could be sold for 10 divine crystals. An ordinary first-level virtual god-level metal beast core was worth 5 divine crystals. A second-level virtual god level 1 was worth 10 divine crystals. And a third-level virtual god level 1 was worth 20 divine crystals. As the beast core's grade increased, its value also continued to double. As long as he could kill 100 second-level virtual god level wild beasts, he would be able to get back the rent of the Starry Sky battleship. The rest would be his profit. Let's gather the beast cores first. We'll split them equally, Lu Ming suggested. All right. Tong Xier nodded. Then, everyone continued to move forward. Not long after they left, 2 figures flashed and 2 middle-aged men appeared in the air. It's Tong Xier, the heaven's pride of the Zhengtian army, Tong Xier. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect Tong Xier to dare to come here, and there are 2 other girls. Be more serious. Let's go back and report to His Excellency. Ask him to send experts to capture these people and play with them for a while before killing them. Let's go. With a flash, the 2 middle-aged men disappeared. Lu Ming and the group continued to move forward. After a while, they encountered a first-tier virtual god-level metal desolate beast, which was easily killed by Tong Xier. Lu Ming could tell that Tong Xier's cultivation had reached the peak of first-level Void God Realm, and was not far from the second-level Void God Realm. Moreover, her battle prowess was extremely shocking, far surpassing experts of the same level. Back then, when Lu Ming was a 2-star Heavenly Emperor, he had activated the battle character formula to double his combat power, but he had only managed to tie with Tong Xier. Now Lu Ming knew that the divine power Long Xier controlled was king-grade divine power. She was a genius. Roar! Roar! As they went deeper into the forest, they encountered more and more metallic desolate beasts. However, most of them were at the first or second level of the Void God Realm. As long as there weren't many of them, they would be easily dealt with. Not long after, they had already killed 15 first-level virtual god-level wild beasts and 5 second-level virtual god-level metal wild beasts. Thump! Room! Suddenly, the ground trembled, and a few giant wolves with bodies as black as ink ran out from a canyon in front of them. This giant wolf's entire body seemed to be made of black iron. It was 10 meters tall and 20 meters long, and it emitted a terrifying aura. Not good. There are 2 third-level Void God Realm existences. Tong Xier's expression changed drastically. There were a total of 4 giant wolves. 2 of them were at the 3rd level of the Void God Realm, and the other 2 were at the 2nd level of the Void God Realm. Let's quickly retreat and rush out, Tong Xier shouted. If there was only one at the 3rd level of the Void God Realm, they could still fight it out if they joined forces. However, there were 2 at the 3rd level of the Void God Realm, and 2 at the 2nd level of the Void God Realm. They were in danger. No need, it's a good time to fight. Lu Ming's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. He hadn't used his full strength yet. Moreover, he was very clear about Xian Yanking's combat strength, too. Was no problem for him to deal with a 3rd level Void God Realm. In addition, Xian Yanjin's strength was definitely not weaker than Xian Yangqing's. A battle? Lu Ming, don't tell me you have a breakthrough. Tang Xier was stunned. Not bad. Lu Ming nodded. All right then, let's have a battle. Tang Xier gritted her teeth and said. Back then, before Lu Ming had broken through, his combat strength was already on par with hers. Now that he had broken through, it should not be a problem for him to deal with a third-level virtual god-level giant. Wolf. If she used all her strength to tie down a giant wolf, she might be able to fight it. However, as soon as she finished speaking, Xian Yinjuan dashed out toward a third-tier virtual god-level wolf. Not good. Tang Xier's expression changed. She felt that Xian Yinjuan was too impulsive. Xian Yanjin's cultivation was only at first-level ethereal god realm. No matter how strong he was at most about the same level as her. It was too dangerous to rush out like this. However, before she could stop him, Xian Yinjuan had already made his move. Holy light emanated from her body as she clenched her fist in the air. A holy sword of light formed and then slashed down. Roar. A third-tier virtual god-level giant wolf howled and pounced at Zik Yinjuan. Its giant claws swiped down, creating a terrifying hurricane. However, when Xian Yanjin's sword light collided with the huge wave's claw, the result was unexpected. Bang! The giant wall wailed and retreated. A deep sword mark appeared on its metal claw, almost cutting off its entire claw. So strong? Tang Xi was dumbfounded. Buzz. Xian Yinjuan gained the upper hand one move. He moved and attacked the wolf again. His sword glowed and he slashed out a dozen times in an instant. Each strike was faster and stronger than the last. The wall was forced to retreat, and its metal body was left with deep sword marks. Roar! 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 The other three wolves roared and pounced on Xian Yinjuan. Xian Yinqing moved his body and charged towards another third-level void god realm giant wolf. He waved his palm and forced the giant wall to retreat. Attack, die! Lu Ming shouted. His body flashed and he charged out, killing the two second-level void god-level giant wolves. Tang Xi seemed to wake up from a dream and also charged out. Xian Yinjuan and Xian Yanging's combat strength completely suppressed the giant wolves at the third level of the void god realm. They killed the two giant wolves in just a few moves. IND 23. Chapter 25. 85 people from the Yuanluo Palace. After Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan killed the two third-level virtual god-level giant wolves, they swayed their bodies and slashed their long swords across the sky. The two second-level virtual god-level giant wolves that were fighting Lu Ming, and the others were also cut in half. This battle strength. He's actually this strong? Tang Xi looked at Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan with shock in her eyes. Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan were only at ethereal god realm level 1, which was the same as her. She thought that they could be strong, but now she realized that she was wrong. She estimated that Zik Yinqing or Xian Yanjin's combat strength was enough to fight a fourth-level void god realm existence. He was only at the first level of the void god realm, but he could fight against a fourth-level void god realm martial artist. Sacred grade divine power. They must have mastered the sacred grade divine power. Tang Xier was amazed. At the same time she sighed. Lao Ming was already abnormal enough. She did not expect that the people around him were also abnormal. Lu Ming smiled. With Xian Yanjing and Xian Yinjuan helping him, he was happy to have an easy time. Then they took out the beast cores of the four giant wolves. They were worth 60 divine crystals, which was quite a lot. After taking out the beast core, they continued to move forward. There weren't any strong wild casts in the forest. After walking for a while, they didn't encounter any beasts above 4th level void god realm. The strongest beasts they encountered were only at 3rd level void god realm. With Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan around, he and Tang Xier had an easy time. Little Qing and Xian Yanjin's combat skills are amazing. Along the way, even Lu Ming was secretly sighing. Lu Ming himself was considered a natural combat genius. His combat awareness was very strong, but he was still not as good as Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan. The battle techniques of the two were perfect, and they could defeat the enemy with the least amount of strength. Even if his shun power was about the same as the two of them, he would not be their match. Lu Ming guessed that this might be related to their experience in their previous lives. As time went by, their harvest was getting bigger and bigger. They were about to earn back the 1,000 divine crystals they had borrowed from the Starry Sky battleship. The extra was a net profit. Just as Lu Ming and the group were hunting the dire beasts, there was a mountain peak some distance away from them. Some people were gathered on one of the peaks. These people had all concealed their auras and were very careful. The two burly men who had discovered Lu Ming's tracks earlier appeared on the mountain peak and reported to a bald burly man. What? Tong Shi from the righteous army has come to the myriad gold star. The bald man's eyes were filled with a cold light. That's right. Moreover, they only sent for people. One of them replied. For people? What's their cultivation level? The bald man asked. Tong Shi's cultivation is still at the first level of the Void God realm. There are two other women who are also at the first level of the Void God realm. The man has the ability to kill a second-level Void God realm. One of them bowed and reported. They're all at the first level of the Void God realm. Good. This time, we'll capture Tong Shi and give her to young master to play with. We'll also capture the other two women, and let us enjoy ourselves. As for the man, we'll just kill him. Righteous army, you'll die sooner or later if you dare to go against the Yuanluo Palace. The bald man sneered. These people were from the Yuanluo Palace. The three of you are all at the third level of the Void God realm. You're more than enough to deal with Tong Shi and the others. Go and bring them here. The bald man ordered three of the brawny men in black armor. Yes, the three black-armored men cupped their fists. Wait a moment. Suddenly the bald man shouted. In order to be foolproof, old man Xiao, you go with them. All right, that's fine too. An old man with a face full of wrinkles chuckled. Although he felt that 3 third-level Void God realm existences were more than enough to deal with a few juniors, he was a 4th-level Void God realm existence. However, the bald burly man was at the 5th level of the Void God realm. He was the strongest among them, so he couldn't reject him directly. Old man Xiao and the 3 black-armored men flashed and left. The bald man's eyes looked at the bottom of a cliff in front of him. At the bottom of the cliff, there was a cave. From time to time, there would be golden light bursting out. Near the cave there was a bird's nest, and in the bird's nest there was a giant metal eagle. When the bald man looked at the cave, his eyes were burning, but when he saw the giant eagle his expression became serious. Treasure, treasure, I must get it. The greed in the bald man's eyes became even stronger. They were from the Yuanluo Palace. Not long ago, they had joined forces to come to the myriad gold star to hunt dire beasts and obtain their beast cores. However, 2 days ago, a few people from the Yuanluo Palace accidentally entered the cave and found a treasure. It was a metal ball with spirituality. When they were about to take the metal ball away, the giant metal eagle appeared and killed a few of them. Only one person managed to escape and report the news to him. His heart immediately burned with excitement. A metal ball with intelligence must be a rare treasure. He immediately brought people over, but he stopped when he saw the giant metal eagle. Although he had the cultivation base of a 5th-level ethereal god realm expert, that giant metal eagle was a 7th-level ethereal god realm expert. If they charged at it, they would definitely die. So he and his men stayed here to wait for the metal eagle to leave. They wanted to enter the cave and take the spiritual metal ball. After that he heard news from Tong Shi, Lu Ming and the rest. Naturally, Lu Ming and the rest had no idea about all this. They went deep into the mountain forest and hunted desolate beasts, their harvest getting bigger and bigger. They all smiled. At this rate, they would only need to hunt for a while on the myriad gold star to earn about 10,000 divine crystals catch. Who is it? Just as they were walking through the forest, looking for wild beasts to kill, Xian Yinjuan suddenly looked in a certain direction. Following that, Lu Ming and Xian Yanking's gazes also shifted in that direction. Hee little girl, your spiritual sense is quite sharp. A sneer was heard. Then, 4 figures flashed in that direction and appeared. These 4 people were Old Man Xiao from the Yuanluo Palace, and the 3 strong men in black armor. You guys. They are from the Yuanluo Palace. Tong Shi's expression suddenly changed. Not bad. Old Man Xiao laughed coldly. I's long and narrow eyes swept across Tong Shi, Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan. When his eyes swept over Xian Yangying and Xian Yinjuan, his eyes were burning with a fiery flame. Tongxie, young Master Kong Long really misses you. If I take you down and present you to the young master will definitely reward you handsomely, hee hee. Old man Xiao licked his lips, and a powerful aura emanated from his body. 4th level Void God Realm. Tongxie's face turned pale. 22. Chapter 2586 Kill them all. Old man Xiao's body exuded a powerful aura of a 4th level Void God Realm. At the same time, the 3 burly men in black armor also exuded auras of a 3rd level Void God Realm. The terrifying aura was like a violent hurricane, pressing towards Lu Ming and the rest. Leave this old man to me. At this moment, Xian Yinjuan spoke, a look of disgust flashing across her eyes. Just now when old man Xiao looked at her with that kind of gaze, she already had the thought of killing him. Whoosh! With a wave of his hand, Xian Yinjuan broke through old man Xiao's aura suppression and walked toward him. Old man Xiao's eyes narrowed slightly. To be able to break through his aura so easily, it was not easy. Little girl, since you're in such a hurry, I'll fulfill your wish, hee hee. Old man Xiao laughed sinisterly. He reached out with his withered hand and a huge black hand appeared, grabbing towards Xian Yinjuan. Whoosh! Xian Yanjin's band was filled with holy light, which turned into a sword of holy light. With a slash, it cut old man Xiao's hand in half. Then the long sword trembled and turned into sword shadows, shrouding old man Xiao. You! Old man Xiao was shocked. Xian Yanjin's strength was far beyond his imagination. It was not the combat strength of a 1st-tier Void God Realm. Room. The divine power in his body burst out as a dragon-headed walking stick appeared in his hand. He attacked Xian Yinjuan like a storm. However, Xian Yanjin's long sword trembled, and sword shadows emerged one after another. In an instant, hundreds of sword shadows appeared and slashed at old man Xiao from all directions. Each sword seemed to cut at old man Xiao's flaws. Old man Xiao's attack had just burst out, but before it was even halfway out, it was extinguished. He could only retreat to block. Xian Yinjuan followed him, and his sword light expanded again, enveloping his opponent. Damn it, damn it! Old man Xiao roared. He was so aggrieved that he almost vomited blood. His divine power was definitely not weaker than Xian Yanjin's, but he was completely suppressed by Xian Yinjuan in the battle. Zik Nianjin's sword light had completely controlled the situation and the rhythm. He couldn't use his full strength at all. He had never encountered such a situation before. He was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. This level of control. Tongxie was even more amazed. Xian Yanjin's control was so strong that he had the entire battle under control. The strength of her Shun power was similar to old man Xiao, but in the battle, the situation was one-sided. This was the result of battle techniques and experience. Only with great power could one achieve this. Zik Nianjuan looked to be about the same age as her, but he was able to control the rhythm of the battle so well that she couldn't help but be amazed. All of you attack together and kill her, kill her. Old man Xiao bellowed and called the 3 black-armored brawny men to attack. A long spear appeared in each of the 3 black-armored men's hands. They circulated their divine power and charged at Zik Nianjuan. Your opponent is me, Xian Yinqing said coldly. His figure flashed and he rushed out. The sword in his hand slashed violently and enveloped the 3 black-armored men. Clang clang, clang. After 3 consecutive collisions, the 3 black-armored brawny men were forced back. Little Qing, leave one for me. Lu Ming also rushed out and continuously cast the battle character formula. Boom. The double combat power of the battle character formula was activated. Lu Ming's combat strength increased sharply. He took out a divine weapon sword and slashed at one of the burly men in black armor. Ever since Lu Ming's cultivation had broken through, he had not gone all out in the battle. It was a good time for him to spar with the strong man in black armor. Xian Yinqing retracted his sword and gave Lu Ming a strong man in black armor. Clang. Lu Ming's combat sword slashed at the burly man in black armor. There was a loud boom and both of them swayed. 3rd level Void God Realm is indeed powerful. Again. Lu Ming took a step forward and rushed forward again, launching a storm-like attack. Clang! Clang! Lu Ming and the burly man in black armor were engaged in an intense battle. On the other hand, it was a one-sided battle between Xian Yanqing and the other two. Xian Yanqing's combat strength wasn't much weaker than Xian Yanjin's, so it was easy for him to deal with two third-level Void God Realm cultivators. Tong Shiciar stood at the side in a daze. She realized that she couldn't interfere in such a battle at all, and there was no need for her to intervene. After a few dozen moves, the two black-armored men were killed, and blood splattered everywhere. How is that possible? How did this happen? Old Man Xiao's heart trembled. He simply couldn't believe it. Lu Ming's cultivation realm was similar to the information he had received previously. However, their combat strength was completely unrelated to their cultivation realm. It was too terrifying. A first-level ethereal god realm expert could actually suppress him. Sacred-grade divine power. Peerless genius. Retreat. Retreat. Old Man Xiao was terrified. All wanted to run away, but he realized that he couldn't escape from Xian Yanjin's sword light. He panicked and became even more vulnerable. Not long after, Zik Nianjin's sword left a deep wound on his body, almost cutting him in half. Xian Yanjin's terrifying divine power was running around in his body, making Old Man Xiao vomit blood and weaken even more. As such, he was even less of a match for Xian Yanjuan. Piffed. Within 2 moves, Old Man Xiao's eyes were cut off by Zik Nianjin's sword light. Ah! Old Man Xiao screamed and attacked crazily. Old man, I'll send you on your way, Xian Yanjuan said coldly. The sword light slashed again, and the next moment, Old Man Xiao's head flew off. A 4th-level Void God Realm existence had been killed. Old Man Xiao's eyes were wide open. He died with his eyes wide open. I'll never thought that he, a dignified 4th-level Void God Realm existence, would actually die at the hands of a 1st-level Void God Realm. The brawny man who was fighting with Lu Ming was almost scared to death when he saw that the others were killed. He panicked and Lu Ming seized the opportunity to kill him with one slash. At this point, the 4 experts of the Yuanluo Palace had all been killed. My cultivation is still too weak. Lu Ming sighed. Lu Ming's weakness was his cultivation. He was only a 3-star heavenly emperor now. If he broke through to the Void God Realm, it would be a piece of cake for him to kill these clowns. The few of them kept the storage rings of Old Man Xiao and the other 3. It seems like the Yuanluo Palace also has people on the Myriad Gold Star. I guess these 4 are only a part of them. Tong Shi said with a serious expression. Let's leave this place first. Be careful in our future actions. Lu Ming said. In a flash, the 4 of them left the place. After that, they did not hunt any wild beasts. They ran for more than 100,000 miles before stopping and continuing to search for wild beasts to hunt. In the blink of an eye, another day passed, and they arrived at a mountain area. Why aren't there any dire beasts in this area? Tong Shi said in a low voice. Lu Ming, Xian Yaoning, and Xian Yanjuan nodded. They had patrolled the area earlier and had not encountered any dire beasts. This area was very quiet. 3 pounds. Chapter 2587. Be an Oriole. This area can't be the territory of some powerful dire beast, right? Xian Yanqing suddenly said. Lu Ming and Tong Shi'er's expressions changed. This was very likely. Many powerful desolate beasts had the concept of territories. Some powerful desolate beasts would occupy a region. Within this region, other desolate beasts would not dare to stay. We have to be careful, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Immediately, they retracted their auras and wanted to leave this place in the direction they came from. There are many creatures on that mountain, and they aren't metal, but flesh and blood. At this moment, Xian Yanjuan looked at a mountain peak not far away. A living being with flesh and blood means that they are like us, outsiders. Lu Ming said. He didn't doubt Zik Nianjin's senses. Xian Yanjuan had completely awakened the memories of her past life. Her methods were simply unfathomable. Let's go take a look, Xian Yanqing suggested. The group nodded and carefully made their way to the other mountain peak. Not long after, they ascended another mountain peak, found a hidden place, and looked ahead. They immediately saw a group of living beings. There were about 20 people, and among them, there were creatures with a single horn and snake people with scales on their skin. There were at least 6 or 7 races among the 20 people. Some of them were wearing black battle armor, which was exactly the same as the 3 black-armored brawny men they had met before. The people from the Yuanluo Palace. Tongxia muttered. Lu Ming, Xianyanqing, and Xianyanjin's eyes glinted coldly. They realized that the people from the Yuanluo Hall were also very careful. They hid in the dark and looked in other directions. They did not notice Lu Ming's group at all. They followed the direction of the Yuanluo Palace's gaze, and saw a giant metal eagle at the bottom of a cliff. In addition, there was also a cave. From time to time, golden light would spread out from the cave. Could it be that there's a treasure in that cave? Lu Ming and the few of them were smart people. Upon seeing this situation, they thought about it and understood the general situation. It was obvious that there were treasures in the cave. However, there was a terrifying giant metal eagle guarding the cave. The people from the Yuanluo Palace didn't dare to make a move. They were hiding there, waiting for the giant metal eagle to leave. Then let's be the Oreo. Lu Ming revealed a smile, and the others nodded. After that, they also started to wait here. Time flew by and 3 days said. Buzz. And MBSP whoosh. At this time, the giant metal eagle cried out. It had been lying on the ground all this time, but now it stood up and looked around with its cold eyes. Then it flapped its wings and soared into the sky. Lu Ming and the rest quickly hid in the dark. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. This giant metal eagle was definitely extremely terrifying. If he was discovered, he would be finished. Soon, the metal eagle soared into the sky and flew into the distance, disappearing in the blink of an eye. At this moment, the people of the Yuanluo Palace turned into streaks of light and rushed toward the broken cliff. What should we do? Tong Xier looked at Lu Ming and the other two. There were many experts in the Yuanluo Palace. No matter how strong Xianyanqing and Xianyanjuan were, they wouldn't be a match for them. Kill with a borrowed knife, no, kill with a borrowed bird. Lu Ming smiled faintly. Tong Xier's eyes lit up. At this moment, more than 20 people from the Yuanluo Palace had already rushed to the bottom of the cliff. They left a few people to guard the entrance of the cave, while the others rushed into the cave. You guys wait for me here. Lu Ming left the mountain peak in a flash. After he descended, he took out a combat sword and injected his ruler's power into it. Buzz. A shocking sword light shot up into the sky and pierced through the firmament. It could be seen from far and away. Then, the sword ray slashed towards the cave. Damn it! The few people guarding outside the cave were instantly enraged. They all moved to block the sword ray. Boom, boom, boom. The energy was unrestrained, and the sword chi soared to the sky. Alter Lu Ming slashed, he turned and left. His goal was not to deal with the people from the Yuanluo Palace, but to create a commotion and lure the giant eagle back. Now that he had achieved his goal, he naturally slipped away. Buzz. In the distance, a deafening cry resounded through the firmament. The giant metal eagle had obviously seen the sword light and returned at top speed. Damn it, damn it. Furious roars came from the cave, and the people from the Yuanluo Palace rushed out of the cave. The leader, the bald man, roared in anger. Who is it? A cold killing intent burst out from the bald man's body as he looked at the guards. It's a young man, one of them said. Buzz. An ear-piercing screech was heard. In the distance, a black dot appeared. The giant eagle had returned. Let's go. The bald man roared and ran away. I was furious. He had just entered the cave, and had not even gotten his hands on the treasure when he was alarmed by the return of the giant eagle. Now he could only escape. More than 20 experts from the Yuanluo Palace were running for their lives. Buzz. The ear-piercing sound was getting closer and closer. The giant metal eagle was too fast. Its wingspan was 100 meters wide. Like a flash of lightning, it chased after the people from the Yuanluo Palace. In the distance, a shrill scream and an angry roar could be heard. Let's go. Lu Ming and the other 3 seized the opportunity and rushed toward the cave. They didn't have much time. and they had to seize the opportunity to take the treasure in the cave and leave. If they waited for the giant eagle to return, they would be in danger. Like 4 streams of light, they rushed to the entrance of the cave. Without any hesitation, they rushed in. Inside the cave there was a sage that was 100 meters long. They rushed through the sage and appeared in a huge cave. When they rushed into the cave, they were stunned. The cave was filled with all kinds of metals of different colors, which were bright and resplendent. Moreover, many of the metals were shaped like plants, and metal flowers bloomed. But other than that, there was nothing else. All of a sudden, Lu Ming noticed that one of the walls was slightly different. There was a spot that had a different color from the wall. Lu Ming walked over. When Lu Ming walked over, the different color on the wall actually started to wriggle. It was actually a pool of liquid metal. It did not move at all earlier, but it only started to move when Lu Ming walked in. The liquid metal was shining and wriggling quickly. It turned into a metal ball and flew in another direction. A metal ball. The 4 of them were very surprised. Could it be that the treasure was this metal ball? Catch it! The 4 of them didn't hesitate and attacked. They charged at the metal ball from 4 directions. Chapter 2587 Sentient Metal Ball Buzz. The metal ball was astonishingly fast. It was like a bolt of golden lightning, flying around the cave. The 4 of them were unable to stop it. Stay here. Lu Ming cast the Way of Domination, enveloping the area and grabbing at the metal ball. The metal ball seemed to be a little afraid. In a flash, it quickly retreated. Xian Yinjuan was on the other side. She reached out and was about to grab the metal ball. However, the metal ball suddenly expanded and turned into a huge ball with a diameter of several meters. It collided with Xian Nianjin's palm. Room. With a loud boom, Zik Nianjin's body trembled and he was forced to retreat. What shocking strength! Everyone's heart shook. Although Xian Nianjin's cultivation base was only at the 1st level of the Void God Realm, her divine power was strong enough to fight against a 4th-level Void God Realm powerhouse. However, she was still knocked back by the metal ball. However, the metal ball was also pushed back by Zik Nianjuan and rushed towards Tong Xixi'er. Tong Xier's expression changed. She did not have Xian Nianjin's strength. A long sword appeared in her hand, and she stabbed at the metal ball. However, a shocking scene appeared at that moment. A huge mouth suddenly appeared on the smooth surface of the metal ball. The golden metal formed fangs, and when it opened its mouth, it bit towards Tong Xier's sword. With a crack, Tong Xier's long sword was directly bitten in half. The front part was swallowed by the metal ball, and it began to eat it with a ka-bung sound. Lu Ming and the few of them looked at each other. Tong Xier's longsword was a divine artifact. Although it was only a level 1 low-grade divine artifact, it was still extremely hard. Now it had actually been bitten off by the metal ball, and was even eating it. This metal ball. How could it be so abnormal? What made them even more speechless was that at this moment, a pair of eyes had actually appeared on the metal ball's mouth. The eyes were squinted, and it seemed to be enjoying it very much. A lump of metal with intelligence. The same thought flashed through their minds. A treasure. This was definitely a treasure. A lump of metal that actually had intelligence was definitely extraordinary. Buzzard. Everyone moved again, pouncing towards the metal ball. However, this metal ball was very slippery and smart. It seemed to have noticed that Tong Xier's combat strength was the weakest among the 4, and it directly rushed towards her. Tong Xier's no longer dared to take out her divine weapon to attack. She could only circulate her divine power and wrap it around the metal ball. However, the power of the metal ball was extremely shocking. With one hit, it knocked away Tong Xier's divine power. Tong Xier's delicate body trembled, and she was also sent flying, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Her strength was not enough to resist this metal ball. However, Lu Ming arrived just in time. With a wave of his hand, the power of domination formed a huge hand and grabbed the metal ball. The metal ball seemed to be extremely afraid of the ruler's power. Its eyes were filled with fear, and it quickly retreated. Lu Ming, This metal ball seems to be afraid of your dominator's power. I'll trap it, and you grab it. Zik Nianqing shouted. His body was covered in black light. Black lotuses appeared one after another, and pressed toward the metal ball. On the other side, Xian Yinjuan also attacked with all his might. Snow-white lotus flowers appeared and pressed down on the metal ball. Buzz! The metal ball rushed towards Zik Nianqing and collided with the black lotus. Bang! Bang! The lotus flowers kept exploding. However, after they exploded, more lotus flowers appeared. The metal ball was directly blocked. Lu Ming rushed over and grabbed with both hands. His dominator's power formed a large net and enveloped the metal ball. The metal ball was directly enveloped by the ruler's powers NCT. It tried to break free from the net, but strangely, it couldn't break free. Lu Ming began to shrink the dominator's power, and the big net became smaller. In the end, the metal ball became well-behaved and stayed there without moving. Finally, Lu Ming grabbed the metal ball in his hand. It's so heavy. When Lu Ming grabbed the metal ball, he almost dropped it on the ground. This was extremely shocking. Although all matter in the primeval universe could not be compared to the heaven realm and the primordial realm, and its S was many times greater, Lu Ming almost lost his grip on this metal ball. Its weight was estimated to be several mountains heavier. Just as Lu Ming was about to take a closer look, a sharp spike suddenly emerged from the metal ball. This spike was extremely sharp. It pierced through the power of domination that Lu Ming had covered his hand with and his skin. A stream of blood flowed onto the metal ball. Lu Ming was shocked and almost threw the metal ball away. Fortunately, the metal ball did not continue to move. The stream of blood seeped into the metal ball and disappeared. A dark red light flashed on the surface of the metal ball. At this moment, Lu Ming actually felt that the metal ball had become lighter, as if it had no weight at all. Lu Ming was a little stunned. Lu Ming, it seems that you're fated with it, and it has recognized you as its master. Xian Yinjuan said as he walked over. There was a hint of envy in his eyes. There were not many things that could make Xian Yinjuan envious. You've recognized me as your master? Lu Ming was also in a daze. If I'm not wrong, this should be a kind of metal life form born from the origin of the world. This kind of metal life form is rare even in the vast primal universe. It's very precious. Now that it has recognized you as its master, it means that it's fated with you. If you train it well in the future, it might be a great help to you, Xian Yinjuan said. On the side, Xian Yinqing revealed a happy expression. Tong Xier looked envious. However, she did not help much this time. Others who captured the metal ball. She could not say anything. Let's go, we need to leave this place, Lu Ming said. Was Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, and they didn't have much time and couldn't delay any longer. If that giant eagle returned, they would be in trouble. Immediately, they rushed out of the cave and ran in the opposite direction of the Origin Luo Palace. Soon they disappeared from the cave. Not long after Lu Ming and the rest had left, a piercing screech was heard. The wind whistled and the giant metal eagle had returned. It landed at the entrance of the cave, and seemed to sense something. Then it let out an angry cry. Buzz. Bew. WD. Bow wow. The giant metal eagle seemed to have gone mad. It flapped its wings and slashed at everything it touched, be it metal plants or metal ground. Everything exploded and turned into pieces. Buzz. Then, it soared into the sky and then dove down again, wreaking havoc on the ground. A 7th-level Void God Realm metal eagle was truly terrifying, and had shocking destructive power. It destroyed everything nearby madly before it gradually flew into the distance and disappeared. After the metal eagle left, a figure flashed and appeared at the entrance of the cave. It was the bald man from the Origin Luo Palace. He rushed into the cave, but soon he rushed out of the cave. Ah, damn it, who is it? The bald burly man roared, his face extremely ferocious. 23. Chapter 2588 Weird Metal Ball. The bald man from the Yuanluo Palace was furious. He understood that they had been scammed. They had been scammed miserably. There had been more than 20 of them, but they had been chased by the metal eagle and killed along the way. Almost all of them had died. and he was the only one who had survived. Furthermore, when he rushed into the cave to take a look, the treasure had already disappeared. It was obvious that someone had taken the treasure away from the cave while the giant eagle was chasing them. If I find out who it is, it'll definitely grind your bones to dust and die without. The bald man let out an angry roar, and then left in a flash. Burial place. They kept running until they left the forest, crossed a plain, and entered the next forest. Only then did they let out a long breath. This fellow. Lu Ming realized that the metal ball was soft and sprawled on his shoulder like a pool of liquid metal. Lu Ming did not pay much attention to them. He joined forces with Xian Yanqing, Xian Yanjuan, and Tong Shi to resume their hunt for desolate beasts and beast cores. Bang! Bang! Two huge metal bears appeared in front of him. Their auras were very shocking. They were both at the 3rd level of the Void God realm. This forest was even more dangerous than the previous one. They had just entered, and they had already encountered 2 3rd-level Void God realm existences. I'll do it. Lu Ming rushed over directly. At the same time, he continuously triggered the battle formula. After a few times, the double combat power of the battle formula was triggered. Lu Ming and the 2 giant metal bears were engaged in an intense battle. He could only train himself in great battles. A 3rd-level Void God was just right. For Lu Ming. Roar! Roar! The giant metal bear was about 10 meters tall and had immense strength. With a slap, the wind howled and the wind raged. Lu Ming blocked with the divine weapon sword and slashed out a few times metal bear. For a time, the 2 sides were locked in a fierce battle. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjuan didn't make a move. They just stood on the side. Bang! Bang! Succession, fighting the giant Lu Ming and the 2 giant metal bears collided continuously. In the blink of an eye, they had exchanged dozens of moves. The 2 giant bears were furious and their roars were like thunder. The power of the bear paws grew stronger and stronger, causing Lu Ming to feel immense pressure. There were a few times when he was almost hit by the bear paws. Yes, this is the feeling. Lu Ming was not shocked. Instead, his eyes were filled with a strong desire to fight. This kind of pressure and the feeling of danger would allow him to improve faster. It would be very useful for both the path of domination and the comprehension of the battle character formula. Kill. Suddenly, Lu Ming let out a long howl and charged at a giant bear. The giant bear roared angrily and slapped its palm. Lu Ming's body slanted slightly, avoiding the blow to his vital parts. He allowed the palm to hit him while his combat sword slashed at the giant bear. Bang! Lu Ming was hit by the fan. His body shook violently as if he had been struck by lightning. But at the same time, his combat sword also slashed the bear's chest, leaving a deep wound. Roar! The giant bear was enraged, and its killing intent grew stronger. It was about to charge at Lu Ming when something happened. The metal ball, which was initially lying limply on Lu Ming's shoulder, suddenly turned into a rainbow light and rushed over. The metal ball's body turned into a sharp spike and stabbed at the giant bear's chest. The bear's chest was pierced through, leaving a hole in its back. The metal ball flew out from the bear's back and turned into a circle again. In the middle of the circle, a mouth and eyes full of fangs appeared. On both sides, metal liquid extended out like 2 tentacles. On the tentacle, there was a piece of golden metal. It was the beast core of the metal bear. Bang! As for the giant bear, it had fallen straight to the ground and was no longer breathing. What made Lu Ming and the rest even more dumbfounded was that the metal ball actually swallowed the beast core in one bite and began to chew it with a crunching sound. The remaining giant, metal bear roared and actually revealed a terrified expression. 2, turned around and ran. Buzz! The metal ball turned into a beam of light and charged at the metal bear. The metal bear's defense was completely useless against the metal ball. The metal ball pierced through its body, leaving a hole in its chest. As for the beast core, it naturally fell into the metal ball. Gotcha! The metal ball then stuffed the beast core into its mouth and began to gobble it up. Its eyes revealed a very human-like expression of enjoyment. This is also fine. Lu Ming was in a daze. Judging from the aura of the metal ball, it should be at the 1st level of the Void God realm. However, the 2 giant metal bears at the 3rd level of the Void God realm could not resist it at all. It was as if the metallic sphere was capable of restraining these metallic life forms. Then Lu Ming's heart ached. 2 third-level void god-level beast cores were eaten by the metal ball just like that. That was worth 40 divine crystals. You can counter these metallic life forms? Lu Ming walked over and picked up the metal ball. Crack. Crack. The metal ball chewed a few times with its big mouth, and its eyes revealed a proud expression. It was as if he was saying, of course. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Okay, help us hunt metal desolate beasts in the future. However, you can't eat the desolate beast's heart. You have to give it to me, Lu Ming said. Crack. Crack. The metal ball bit down a few more times, and the entire metal ball started to spin. It was clearly rejecting the offer. You don't agree? If you don't agree, I'll stuff you into my storage ring, and you won't be able to get a single piece. Lu Ming threatened. The metal ball's mouth clenched with all its might, and its eyes revealed a furious expression. Then I'll keep you in my storage ring. Lu Ming did not compromise. After a round of bargaining, he finally reached an agreement with the metal ball. Half of the beast cores that the metal ball had hunted would be given to Lu Ming, and the other half would be left for it to eat. Half each. After their discussion, they set off. Not long after, they encountered a few more desolate beasts. However, when the metal ball appeared, these desolate beasts seemed to be very afraid. They were easily killed by the metal ball, and their beast cores were taken away. The metal ball paras said half of the beast core to Lu Ming and stuffed the other half into its mouth, eating it noisily. Lu Ming and the rest were overjoyed. This way, their efficiency in hunting for beast cores would be greatly enhanced. Following that, they rampaged through the forest. Their speed of hunting desolate beasts greatly increased. Lu Ming realized that even if he encountered 4th-level void god-level dire beasts, the metal ball could easily deal with them. It was just slightly more troublesome. Most of the time, Lu Ming and the rest did not need to do anything. Sometimes, when he met a suitable opponent, Lu Ming had to block the metal ball to have a chance to train. In the blink of an eye, they had been in this forest for 3 days. In these 3 days, they had gained a lot. They had obtained more than 1,000 beast cores from level 1 to level 4 of the Void God realm. If they were to exchange them for divine crystals, they would have obtained more than 20,000 divine crystals. It had only been a few days, and they had already gained so much. Everyone smiled. 23. Chapter 2590 Fierce Battle with a 5th-level ethereal god realm. One day, they came to a valley and encountered a nest of metal lizards. There were at least 20 of them, ranging from the 1st to the 4th level of the Void God realm. Whoosh! The metal ball rushed out and killed a 4th-level virtual god-level metal lizard. Then attacked the other lizards. Leave 2 for me. Lu Ming rushed over as well. He held his combat sword in the air and blocked 2 3rd-level virtual god-level lizards. They were engaged in a fierce battle. Over the past few days, he had been fighting with the metallic desolate beasts from time to time. His understanding of the battle symbol art had become deeper and deeper. The chances of him activating the battle symbol art had also increased. They didn't notice that a figure had appeared on a mountain peak far away from them. This man was the bald man from the Origin Luo Palace. He had been searching for the past few days, and came here by accident. He heard the fight here and came to take a look. With a glance, his eyes revealed a cold killing intent. It's that treasure. His eyes were fixed on the metal ball. Back then, he had rushed into the cave and seen the metal ball. Just as he was about to take the metal ball, the giant metal eagle had returned, and he had run away in a hurry. Now that he saw the metal ball here, he immediately knew who had tricked him back then. It was Lu Ming and the rest. Tongshir, so it's them. I've sent few people, but they didn't kill them. Damn it, I want you all to die. The bald man's eyes revealed a cold expression and deep greed. That metal ball could casually kill metal desolate beasts and obtain their beast cores. If he could obtain them, he would be rich. He moved along the ground and dashed toward Lu Ming and the rest silently. I was very cautious. Although the cultivation of Lu Ming and the rest did not seem to be high, there were 4th-level void god-level powerhouses among the people he had sent out. However, they had not returned in the end. Therefore, he decided to use a sneak attack to get rid of a few people first. He was extremely fast and soon he was close to Lu Ming and the rest. Who's there? Xian Yanjin's eyes suddenly turned in one direction. A holy light spread out and formed a sword. He slashed out. Whoosh! Wherever the sword light said, the metal trees were cut in half. Boom! On the other side, divine power burst forth and a figure shot into the sky, exposed to everyone. His spiritual sense is so sharp. Also his divine power is so strong. The bald man from the Yuanluo palace was shocked. He had already concealed his aura, but he was still discovered by Xian Yinjuan. At the same time, he was shocked by the power of Zik Nianjin's sword. The divine power of someone at the first level of the Void God realm was actually not weaker than that of someone at the fourth level of the Void God realm. A monster. There's actually such a monster in the righteous army. We must get rid of him. The bald burly man roared in his heart. It's him. At that moment, Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, and the rest recognized the bald man. They had seen him from afar before. Buzz. Lu Ming moved and dodged the two lizards' attacks. Then the metal ball rushed over and killed the two lizards. It took out their beast cores and landed on Lu Ming's shoulder. Tongxi, you're not dead yet. It seems that the people I sent are dead. The bald man said ferociously. That's right, we've already killed him. Tongxi said. However, her expression was a little grave. This bald burly man gave her a lot of pressure. He was definitely a terrifying expert. So you were the ones who alerted the metal eagle and lured it back to the cave? The bald man sneered, his eyes flashing with a fierce light. It seems that you're not stupid. Lu Ming said coldly. Kid, give me that metal ball. The bald man looked at the metal ball on Lu Ming's shoulder. The greed in his eyes intensified. You want it? Come and get it yourself. Lu Ming said. You're looking for death. The bald burly man moved and charged at Lu Ming like a bolt of lightning. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as the bald man moved, Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan moved as well. A black and a white sword light flew towards the bald man. Get lost! A saber appeared in the bald man's hand. The saber light flashed as he slashed at Xian Yanqing and the other man, trying to shake off their sword light. 5th level Void God Realm. Lu Ming could tell the bald man's cultivation level the moment he made his move. A 5th level Void God Realm was definitely powerful. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan did not dare to fight the bald man head-on. They changed their sword stances and transformed into a dozen sword lights. They dodged the bald man's saber and stabbed at his vital points. Get lost, get lost! The bald man bellowed as he slashed his saber. However, Xian Yanqing and Xian Yanjin's combat techniques were too powerful. They dodged his attacks completely, but they were still able to attack his vital points at all times. The two of them joined forces, and the sword light kept flashing, forcing the bald man to be unable to rush over. Bang! At this moment, a cold glint flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. He took a step forward and charged at the bald man, slashing his sword at the man's head. Gel lost! The bald burly man bellowed. His divine power boiled and burst out like a tide. Lu Ming's combat sword slashed against this strong divine power, as if it had slashed against a mountain. Boom! Lu Ming felt a surge of terrifying power surging towards him, and he could not help but retreat. 5th level of Ethereal God Realm. What a strong power! Lu Ming felt his arms go numb and his blood and chi were in turmoil. Bang! At that moment, the metal ball threw a beast core into its mouth. As it chewed, its body rushed toward the bald man. In the process of rushing out, the metal ball changed sharply, turning into a big ball with a diameter of a few meters, smashing towards the bald man. Thump! The bald man's blade hit the metal ball, causing a huge explosion. The metal ball was sent flying, but the bald man's blade momentum also slowed down. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zik Nianqing and Zik Nianjin's sword radiance surged like two rainbow lights and instantly attacked the bald man. Get lost! The bald man roared and slashed out with his saber. A crescent-shaped blade light slashed out in all directions. This was a large-scale attack. Even though it consumed a lot of divine power, it was very useful in this situation. Xian Yanqing and Xian Yinjuan couldn't help but retreat. Although they could kill 4th-level Void God-level powerhouses with their powerful combat techniques, they were still no match for 5th-level Void Gods. Brat die. After forcing Xian Yinqing and Xian Yinjuan back, the bald man pounced at Lu Ming with a ferocious expression. Go! Lu Ming waved his hand and the metal ball rushed out again, charging at the bald man. However, the metal ball was still blasted away by the bald man's saber. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.